Hello and welcome to episode 7, God help us all, of Castle Falkenstein, the Chekhov observations. And the last episode, the two dwarven brothers were rescued from their hideout in Docklands and brought to the authorities for their own protection, which led to a free and frank exchange of ideas between the party and an agent of Her Majesty's government, Lord Fullenham, who has been ostensibly dealing with the Chekhov situation for some time. It's safe to say him and Randolph did not get on.
I don't know what you mean.
Randolph was nothing but helpful to the Crown.
Yes. And essentially, after bullying their way into the police station and extracting as much information as possible from the brothers, you've established that basically the knowledge regarding the painting containing the blueprints, and if anybody goes into hello at the moment,
get out of my mind.
Yes, the vessel with the person.
It's the Fallen Madonna, is it?
It is, yes. Has the brew that is true. Yeah, hang on a minute. That's mixing up movies and hello. Essentially, the knowledge that the painting contains the blueprint was limited to Chekhov, the brothers, and the Harrisons.
Well, at least one of the Harrisons.
At the end of the session, somebody slammed their way in, declared there was trouble at mill. Somebody had taken a petrol bomb to the Harrison residence. George Harrison is missing, and I still can't believe we let me get away with for so long by calling a character George Harrison.
I didn't let you get away with it. I just didn't mention it on stream.
And his wife, his poor wife Adelaide, is currently in hospital undergoing treatment. And it is to that hospital, St. Bartholomew's, that you are currently trotting your way at a rate of knots, having been asked by Lord Fullenham to continue your investigations into the missing Chekhov, retrieve the plans, and, if possible, and time permitting, and deal with the villainous hawk.
Yeah, you know he's getting ready to come back another day, right?
I literally have it set up. It can work out any way possible. Missing, presumed dead, escaped. The only thing I haven't got it set up for him to do is turn good guy.
I think we can be reasonably confident that at the end of this, he will have flown.
I like him. What can I say? He hasn't actually turned up to it, well, apart from nearly killing Livercane.
Yeah. Not shown up at all, really.
Not really. You chased him once. He nearly killed you and has not exchanged a single word with any of you. So, you are in a carriage with Inspector Jarrett, one of his detectives, and the four of you.
From my point of view, the inspector looks a lot like a small black cat.
Inspector Jarrett, hang on a minute, he's a bloody northerner. That's the only way, we as not secret police, that's for certain. That's how I can ever get a northern accent, is to go bloody northerners. Not necessarily representative of my sentiments, it's just puts you in the right mouth. Yeah, Inspector Jarrett is glaring at you in Yorkshire. He's not impressed with you lot.
That's more of the 1,000-mile stare as opposed to the 1,000-yard one.
Yes, exactly. Yes, there have been implications thrown around that you don't know how to play cricket.
I'd rather play golf.
Yes. And when somebody remarked on a cool breeze, he deliberately unbuttoned his coat and said, "Soft Southerners." So essentially, he has been ordered to accompany you and render all assistance. He is clearly not impressed with this, despite the fact he wouldn't necessarily have objected. He just objects to being ordered to do it. Lord Fullenham is not accompanying you because you don't drag high-ranking members of the nobility into police investigations if you don't have to.
Oh, I don't know. They don't seem to have a problem with dragging low-ranking members.
Exactly. You have
You're
to
low
know
ranking, it doesn't count.
you know your place. That's
Lord
the thing.
Fullenham's not a. Is Lord Fullenham a duke, or is he lower?
Well, that's an interesting question. Because Lord
You know,
Fullenham...
people law, but
Yes, Lord Fullenham is a nom de guerre. Nobody is quite sure what his rank is. So, because his title is concealed. But he operates under the pseudonym Lord Fullenham.
if it can be done by feet, I'm in a reasonably good position to figure it out.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Warwick.
So it's really hard to do the faux innocent thing over a webcam. Right.
You are
So-
indeed, though, dressed up a foe to innocence.
That's one advantage of wearing lipstick actually today. When I do that, you can see I'm doing it.
Hell yeah.
Okay. So we are in territory. And you are rattling your way along as the blue screen behind you slightly jerks.
Blue screen? I don't think so.
Oh, back
Surely
projection.
this is just back projection, yeah.
Yes, let's keep the atmosphere consistent.
Keep
So,
watching, that tree will go past every 30 seconds.
shit. Oh God, I wish you were joking. I really wish you were, but you're
I don't
not.
think we even make it to back projection. I think we've got one of those just big canvas paintings that are just rolling around behind us.
What you reckon with the production assistant periodically running past with the tree?
Maybe.
Okay.
Oh, crawling along because
Yeah.
can't get in the way of the
Yes.
the carriage window.
Yes. No, you just hire small children. It's fine.
Plenty
Okay.
of
No
urchins.
laws against child labour in this era.
No, not at all. Please don't make me start looking up when they got instigated. Or instituted, even. You have, of course, in addition to dealing with nobility and attempting to pull the plot together, encountered a third faction, assuming that the British government counts as one, and the Prussians count as another. The third faction claims to be working for the Laird of Lochshiel and were represented by the half-dozen toughs who attempted to beat you into your next
Yes.
incarnation last session.
We're not sure how they connect to the Prussians, though we think they do.
Well, I suspect that. Well, we know that they are the ones who had hired Mr. Hawke. How the Prussians intended to abscond with him was obviously your brother's, supposed to be your brother's dealing.
Yes, the Prussian agent told you that it was going to be Aloysius who was to spritz. Excuse me one moment.
Yeah.
This contains coffee.
To spritz Chekhov like a bad dog for absconding from the homeland.
That's right, yes.
Bad inventor. Wow, wow.
Oh dear.
Oh God. Okay, this is getting cut out. Yes. Yes, he was intended that Aloysius would be the one to be given the mission to spirit Chekhov away. However, Chekhov was taken before the Prussians could steal him.
Or Chekhov fled on his own.
Or Chekhov fled on his
Still our
own.
working theory.
Yeah, it's another alternate theory. There are several theories. All you know is Hawk is a hostile element. This is confirmed by the trail of
The
bodies.
bodies are a clue, yes.
Yeah,
And that Hawk has a connection to the Laird of Lochshiel through his son
yes.
and through the toughs that we met in
Yes.
Docklands.
The Hawk we know was, I knew anyway because I wrote it. Hawk, you know, was grooming the son of the Laird through the card games up in town, which his friend was largely excluded from and was not impressed at the fact. So,
I mean, that sounds far more like Hawk was using the lair rather than the lair was using Hawk. So we're still not sure, to be honest, how these things all work.
True, but we know there is a connection of some sort.
Yeah.
What Lyricane is a little concerned about is not having heard anything from the Prussians following the Graf's appearance at the British Museum.
yes, it does almost appear that the Prussians have apparently decided to give up the game, as the Graf said that they would. Because you believed him as far as you could comfortably spit Pippin.
Absolutely.
Obviously, the Prussians have no further interest in this mega inventor who may or may not have been partially responsible for blowing up part of one of their castles. If the brothers...
That's kind of
Just out of
sus.
interest, I'm just going to take a quick look backwards, just in
Yeah.
case we're being followed by a black carriage with tinted windows and diplomatic plates.
If Lyricane gets a chance, then he's going to head back to. Then he will pop back to the Bavarian embassy
Yeah.
to see what intelligence they have regarding the movements of the Prussians at this point. But
Okay.
we've got the hospital to deal with first.
You've got the hospital to deal with first in Poos. Right. Poos. I'm allowed to say in Poos. I'm having a quiet breakdown today. So, yes. Yes, it was Alistair, son of the Laird of Lochshiel, the painting offender.
Yeah.
So, en route to St. Bartholomew's. Is there anything that any of you want to ask Jarrett or tell Jarrett to do in the carriage before you get to the hospital?
I think there's a few things we want to tell Jared, but none of them are very polite, so we won't.
The guy's quite good at his job.
We don't doubt that.
It's just
This
his
is all a
job.
bit over his head.
Yes, his job
Yeah.
is not international espionage. Espionage?
Is there a chance we can ask him what he knows, in case there's something he knows we don't?
Know a fair few things. What do you have in mind?
That's as far as I thought.
Yeah,
I want to ask the NPC something. What? Everything.
I want to go through every communications
What is
option that
the
the
answer to
the
the
UI
ultimate
gives us.
Sorry, Fish, what was
Yes.
that? Yes. Okay, so
I'm definitely with Knight's plan now.
go through every conversational.
Go through all of the conversation options that there are allowed by the UI.
We probably
Yeah,
haven't unlocked the right answer or right question yet.
That's a good point, yeah.
We
yeah,
don't have.
Maybe one of those games that gives us different options depending on our skills.
yeah. Also,
So
you know,
who could we have actually asking?
the problem is you've been through your inventory, but you looked at it. You didn't have your character look at it. Still having flashbacks. Okay.
Actually, I will ask Jarrett one thing. Is like, do you have any more information on the situation at the Harrisons?
Well, last I heard, the house is pretty much destroyed, but they are tamping down at the moment, with no news on whether any of the servants were killed. But before she was taken to hospital, Mrs. Harrison herself was raving that her husband had been taken. We're not expecting him to be dead. Otherwise, we would definitely be looking for his body.
And no
Is there
indication
not
of
rather
theft.
remiss not knowing the status of the servants?
Well, there was quite extensive damage, and it's not as yet clear whether or not they were on the premises. Oh yes, and you know where all your servants are all the time, I suppose.
Oh, but if my house was burning down, I'd hope someone would ask where they were.
You have a
Someone
little
who
sign
does
on the
know.
window.
I
Servants on
suspect
board.
everything has happened relatively quickly,
It has,
so
yeah.
we don't.
Yes. He also looks very unhappy and says, "The house caught fire very, very quickly, according to neighbours."
Of course it did. It was Hawk.
Yes. It takes a while for brick to burn. Well, normally.
Unless it's assisted.
Yes, that would be our method of investigation. We will be progressing in that direction.
Or
Right.
magical, because he has used magical means before.
Yes, I was going to
Yes.
suggest you will probably require someone with sorceress influence.
Right, what skill would we need to make a suggestion to the officer as to what sort of accelerant might get to the building to a temperature that brick might burn?
Okay.
And
Skill
would any of
we
them
need
apply
to
to my
know
past
put
life?
ourselves in the frame.
Hello. I used to be a thief, and now I've moved into sabotage.
Looking for something to blow up.
Right.
Let's not give the Victorian conspiracy theorists something to work with.
As
Yeah.
if.
Let's have a look. Sorcerer's engineering, by the way, is a thing.
Blimey.
That's what dwarves do, isn't it?
It is largely.
Or is that a different thing?
Yeah, it's basically they can build it and somebody else powers it. Because they can't do sorcery.
Ah, true, yes.
They
Like
are
the knife.
steampunk. Yeah. Very much. Okay. Befuddlement.
Who has the knife at the moment? The runed knife.
Last I heard it was Carter. But
No, that is correct. I still have the knife.
that had a very... Who told you to say that? Who's asking?
No, you can't say who's asking. I think that's trademarked or copyrighted or something.
Yes. Very much.
Usually comes after Sasha Racket.
Yeah.
There is that. Okay. Come on, guys. There has to be a blowing shit up skill.
I think if you're looking under B, you may be in the wrong place.
No, if I was looking under B, I would be okay in Deadlands.
Yes.
Blowing things
there
all
it's
to
probably
hell.
looking for blowing shit up.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any kind of alchemy or
Oh.
general science? Like, I mean, presumably education in terms of general science would.
Yeah, there is a specific field of study for education. So theoretically, that could cover it. Would you believe? Gunslinging is literally just guns. Poison, forget it. Yeah. Weirdly.
Oh, tinkering.
Yeah, tinkering's
Yeah.
about the best one I've come up with so far.
That's one of my worst skills, so I won't have a play on that.
Okay. But yeah. If you have made a study of explosives and accelerants, in a forensic manner, that would be education. I'm not sure where the practical comes other than tinkling. Tinkling? Tinkering!
Really,
Oh, for God's
I really
sake,
don't like it being education, but there doesn't seem to be anything else.
Yeah. You're going to go with the shotfish?
No.
Well, the education side would be the chemistry.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
reasonably certain that my education did not cover blowing things up.
No. I blew up my light bulb once at home. That was embarrassing. I made the discovery if you constantly drip wax onto a light bulb, eventually it'll explode. That was embarrassing. I was 7.
Okay.
I like the patterns the melted candle wax made on the light bulb and didn't actually, think things through.
As you don't when you're 7.
Something interesting. Looking at the list of abilities
Yeah.
in the complete variants,
Yes.
etherealness is there twice. And it's not just been repeated, it's 2 different things.
Yeah, it is.
Is that those things are covered using that suit and those things are covered
Yeah.
using the other suits? Is that
Yeah,
right?
there are 2 different things for
Yeah.
etherealness. So.
Yeah.
Just noticed it and found it interesting.
Yeah, etherealness features, if I recall correctly, on multiple different types of fae. So, depending on which flavour you have, you
they've
can
got 2
one or
different
both.
origins, it
Yeah.
seems. One is Castle Falkenstein, the other must be
Yes. Yeah. But of course, the variants cover both.
Arc of Fire, as far as I'm concerned, is where the other one comes from.
I keep wanting to call it Age of something, but that's just me. Okay, no more tinkling skills. It's fine. I'm not having a breakdown. It's all good. So, anything else aside from that? Because bear in mind, no mobile phones. So the last messenger that he had from the hospital is the most up to date.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, if there was a means of magical influence to make the brick burn, would my forces of nature or manuscript for shaping come into play?
You
Very good
could
question.
certainly
Perhaps suggest something to look for.
have a look at the one that involves summoning fire elementals.
So it'd be forces of nature.
Yeah. You could certainly make a check on it to see if from your memory, because you don't actually carry the damn things with you because
Yeah.
they are locked up. Fortunately, they're not locked up in the place that got blown up a bit.
Because that really would be
Not in that
unfortunate.
room, no.
Yeah. And also, that didn't burn to the ground. It was
Um,
fine. It was only a few rooms.
What would I need?
That would
Suit-wise?
be... Sorcery is going to be... It would normally be diamonds.
Okay.
But let me just confirm that. Because this is using it in its intellectual capacity.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's still diamonds.
Rats.
Not
I
telling
know that there
you.
are 2 other skills which sort of cover it, but I do find amusing the fact that there is a sorcery
With-
thing in skill, but not just an engineering.
Great.
that's
I get 3
craftsmanship.
cards, yeah?
Yes.
3 other skills.
Same colour as half?
Same colour as
Same colour
half.
as half,
Yes. I'm just going to
Uh,
close down all the other tabs because I've just realised I've got about 15 open and I really don't want
There
them
we go.
clicking on.
That's about the best I can do.
I can't see your cards.
Really?
How strange.
I can see them.
Yeah, so can I.
Yep.
Are you on the wrong... No, it shouldn't make any difference.
They're there, slap bang in the middle of the page.
They
Not,
should
you know.
appear whichever,
Hang on.
shouldn't
Are they underneath something else?
No, you're
they?
just
Well,
on the wrong
actually
page.
played to a specific page. Yeah, they are played.
Yeah, they are played to a specific page indeed. And that's... Oh dear.
10, 15, 16.
No, it's not, because that's a heart. That's a 2. 7.
Yeah, hearts is half, is it not?
Yeah. So that's
And I
7.
start at 8.
8. Oh, sorry, yeah, it's including. That's all right, no problem. I suddenly thought one of
Panic
us
me there, I
can't.
was thinking, what?
No, so one of us can't count. I'm not sure who. Okay, let's shift you over to the correct page.
The way today is going for you so far, I'm going to put a wild guess that it's going to be you.
I had a breakdown over the fact that I couldn't persuade Windows to show me where to sort by file type. But then, if nothing else, at least you saw.
Actually officially having a fit.
It was. It was being very strange indeed.
Brought up the thought list and then promptly deleted it before she had a chance to actually click on anything. It's weird.
Yeah, I know how to drive Windows. I'm not an
Windows
idiot.
knows how to drive me around the bend.
As it does everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yet it's still better than most of the alternatives.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Mainly
Verify.
because of support though. Not support from Microsoft, support from lighting for Windows.
Yes. Okay, so that indeed, theoretically, you could use, if you wanted to burn down a building, you could indeed send probably an elemental wandering through said building, and that could generate heat sufficient that it would at least scorch brickwork while firing any soft furnishings or easily flammable wallpaper inside.
Summon a volcano in the middle of the building. That would do.
Yes. That, however, would be noticeable even by the densest of London police detectives.
Are we sure that it's not noticeable even by the densest of London police detectives?
I don't
In
know.
the middle of the building, I'm guessing they've only looked at the outsides so far.
Yeah, that's because most of it's just gone. Pfft. Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have fire investigation departments going on. You have people poking the fire with a stick and hoping that they hear screams. So, anything else? Because currently the driver is kind of orbiting at the moment. He's left the
I've left the motor running.
running. He's racking up the extra time until you can find a parking space, and you guys finish any conversations you want to do before you go to the hospital.
No, I think we're
Can
just...
I ask the detective if he's heard of Hawk having any magical background?
He draws himself up. I hate to say it, but until this incident, I had no knowledge that this Mr. Hawk even existed. He is not a general thief or criminal of the capital, and therefore is not generally my business.
He's generally a killer.
Exactly. But he generally kills
Killers aren't
foreigners.
your business.
Reminds me, I do have one question, actually, that we might be able to help Inspector, and if not, then I quite understand.
Yes,
I wonder if
Sir
you could
Randolph?
recommend me a good gunsmith.
Gunsmith.
Specialising in revolvers. I feel the need not to be wandering the city unarmed anymore.
Ooh, ouch.
That's understandable once one starts dabbling in politics.
Yeah, as well.
And the police let killers loose.
These things.
Well, generally, sir, I gather that he kills people abroad and is therefore not my problem. Please stop talking to him. I can't keep the accent up any longer.
What's the body count here now? 10? 12?
You catch him mentally adding up.
He does seem to be abroad in London.
We have only... Hang on, she says double checking. 2 there. 3. Yeah. We have only 4 confirmed deaths at his hands as yet.
So far. But he's not your concern, so... you needn't keep tally. I will.
Previously, sir, he has not been my concern. Since he is now committing crimes in London, he is my concern.
So basically, you don't know anything that's of any use.
Zurican is just leaning back into the plush, into the plushness of the seat, and just smirking.
I thought we largely established that before Lord Bullock turns up.
I'm looking at the smile on my camera. I've just realised it looks like I'm
I
going
was
to go for
giving him the
someone's
benefit of
throat.
the doubt.
That's not benefit of the doubt.
That's hysterics.
That is applying several burns in a...
Yes. Yes, that was burned rather worse than the Harrison's house.
I'm not going to touch that.
Yeah. Okay.
My apologies if it offended, but
But you know that he's just going through his head to see what charges he can bring against any of us.
Well, the thing
should
is...
we step out of line?
Yeah. Diplomatic immunity,
Indeed.
member of the aristocracy, colonial...
Technically doesn't provide me any protection.
Yeah.
Technically.
Dodgy bloke with an East Anglian accent.
all I'm going to say is I'd like to see him try.
Well,
Yeah.
Person with sorceress backup that would prevent...
Well, yeah. A person with sorceress backup who has been present at least one sorceress explosion. Fortunately, you were with the others when the house went up. I was thinking, please God, don't split the party. Please don't. Because,
That could have been bad.
yeah. We may as well have a big sign up saying, Alexei is in the frame for everything. Alexei has just entered the diary room.
I'm technically not in the frame for anything yet because all incidents occurred out of my sight.
Yeah, the trouble is they all happened also while you were out of sight of anyone else. It happened in your vicinity. I haven't deliberately picked on you, but you are clearly this party's Haley.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sorry. There was a tradition, unfortunately, of anything unpleasant when I was running horror scenarios happening to one girl's character.
I think in Gorkfell it was particularly amusing.
That's completely fine.
Trying to remember what she was running away from at the point that the decapitated, with the not decapitated, quite the opposite, in fact. It was the head. So that's right. She was running away from the decapitated
Body, yes, which had been gutted all over the floor.
The head, which had been put in a bucket on top of a door in that way that people normally do with buckets of water.
Ew.
In this case, it was a head.
Yeah.
That man was lovely stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't anticipating her actually running there.
The same person was not meant to meet both things, I don't think.
Unfortunately.
I enjoyed that. That was fun. Okay. Yes, so you pull up at the frontage, which looks less Georgian than that, but essentially the building is the same. I was considering St Thomas's, and then I discovered that it actually changed location about 6 times, and the last one was just after when we're playing, and I thought, I can't be asked. So St Bartholomew's, however, has been sat there going, I'm not moving. I'm here. You can't make me. Since about 1100.
And probably in this time period has a better reputation than the current trust running it.
Yeah. Oh, God. Well, that doesn't take a lot, to be fair.
Ouch.
We are, however, just before the founding of the teaching college attached to it. So it is purely a hospital at the moment. So, yes, you pull up in front of the building with the colonnades and are hustled by the detective, who attempts to take the lead in the group into the building. So, is anyone letting him?
I'm content to allow him. If
Yeah.
anyone else wants to get in his way, that's up to them.
Okay.
Presumably he's going to lead us to where we need to go for the...
Yes, for starters,
So-
he may
so
already
we don't know where we're going.
Room she's in.
Yeah. Yes, he sweeps in, attempting... Sorry.
What do I need for observational checks as we enter?
Perception.
Yeah.
What you need for perception is to be in the right file. And you need
Diamonds.
to be on diamonds.
Yeah, I'm not
That'd
going
be
to bother.
fine.
I will actually, Lyricane will cast an eye about.
I was worried when you say Lyricane will cast, because I start thinking, oh, God.
No.
Where's this going to go?
Yeah.
I'm Duan Chi. I specifically don't have sorcery at anything other than poor.
Yeah.
I'll throw a 7 in.
Okay.
to give me, I believe that is good, so 13.
Right. You are entering a large open area. More attention has been paid to the decor here than really to the comfort of the employees. A large desk curves around one side of the entrance hall and is manned by nurses in impractical headscarves who are escorting patients in and out of the building. There is a police officer standing directly inside the door, looking bored and scratching the side of his nose.
At least it was his nose.
As we entered the building, so I was casting around, like, did it look like there was anyone? Obviously, we're a rather strange group to be pulling up at the hospital.
Yeah.
But is there anyone, like, untoward, like looking behind us? Did a carriage stop behind us or something like that?
Okay. Nothing pulled up immediately behind you. In the entrance hall, there are chairs lined up along the wall, and as in the waiting room to any hospital, there are people who clearly have just turned up with a newspaper and are waiting there for a week or so until they are called. The members of the Jarrett Club. There are two guys in wheelchairs who are sitting talking. Well, I say sitting, obviously sitting talking. And there are a small group of, I'm going to go with the term blue stocking ladies, who actually are taking notes while talking to a young man in a suit.
You are going to have to elaborate to me for blue stocking.
Blue stocking was the term used by ladies who go into education, which was not a common thing really to do the advanced education. So, ladies going to Oxbridge, no. Many colleges did not allow this to happen. So a blue stocking is basically so how can I put this? A lady who's probably never going to get a husband. There was that connotation. It was you either had a brain or you had a family. Now that's less so in Falkenstein because education is far more equal, but you still have that slight look of the very studious young ladies who are allowed to attend the various colleges that permit ladies to attend and, do things like walk across grass in the colonnades. When I discovered that was actually a banned thing in some colleges, that ladies could not go on the grass between walkways in whichever of the Cambridge colleges, I was just... What?
Really?
Yeah.
I think I'm still not allowed on the grass in a number of colleges.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good God.
Surely not.
So for some of them, you need to have your MA before you can do so.
Yeah.
Definitely undergrads are not allowed on most grassy surfaces within quadrangles.
Yeah. Yeah.
You sometimes have
I had no idea.
Yeah, sometimes you only have permission if you are a fellow or member of teaching staff.
Yeah, my grammar school tried to adopt things like that. You could only go in certain areas if you were a sixth form or if you were a prefect.
Oh, we had that at my school as well.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a shortcut between two wings, which literally cut like 15 minutes off going down 4 flights of stairs, along, up, and round, and up. Or you could just nip across this 20-foot long bridge. And you weren't allowed on there unless you were a prefect. We actually had people keeping watch for teachers because it was a detention if you got caught. Yeah, very strange place, my grammar school.
But then Oxbridge is a weird place generally.
Oxbridge is very peculiar. It is very much another country. They do their own special things. And having heard more recently about the sort of things they get up to, it's a bit...
Oh, yeah.
You sure? No wonder a certain member of the Discord was so confused when she started, or when they started last year. Okay. Oh, good grief. Yeah, okay. So Dover's grammar school had the same problem. Right.
I think a lot of grammar schools seem to pick up the same trait from the colleges almost.
Yeah. They're trying very hard to pretend that they're private. Right.
But aside from that, nothing seems untoward.
Nothing leaps out at you on a general glance. Let's go with that. Behind the desk, there are a number of wide openings leading into corridors that dive into the body of the hospital. There are also a couple of office doors, one to the left and one to the right. The police constable who's on guard sees Jarrett and basically jumps out of his skin. And suddenly he gets about 3 inches taller when he straightens his spine. And Jarrett just looks at him.
Question about the guys in the wheelchairs.
You can ask.
Have they got any casts or anything on?
Not that you can see, no.
Okay.
They are actually in dressing gowns over suits.
Dressing gowns over suits?
Yep. Dressing gown over suit trousers.
Guessing what we're seeing here is a
Convalescence.
policy that has still not entirely disappeared now in medical establishments in the United Kingdom, that you're not supposed to walk if you're a patient.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of
You
places.
still get people getting irate at being wheeled to the door when they're perfectly capable of walking.
Yeah, there's a lot of places that won't discharge you, except in the wheelchair, which always struck me as bonkers.
Yeah, that seems a bit weird.
And yet, when I had a number of years ago, when I had a busted ankle, they wouldn't, like, I was expected to go on crutches from like the waiting room to the X-ray to radiography.
And
so like, does this seem right?
No.
Doesn't seem right to you? Nope.
No. That's one thing I'm glad, touch wood, I've never needed his crutches, because I've tried.
That was St Thomas's.
Right. Riding camels, griffins and horses. Sorry. Of all the things to leap straight out at me there. So, Jarrett strides straight up to the desk, leaving you guys behind. And by the time you make it up the next couple of paces, he's being pointed at one of the large corridors by a rattled-looking nurse. And goes striding off again without checking that you are behind him.
I was going to say, lay on, Macduff, but we already had.
The constable who came with you is following at the back of your group.
I turn and follow Jarrett.
Indeed.
But only after giving the nurse who he was speaking to just an apologetic smile with a flash of dazzle.
Fair enough. Ding. Okay. She looks vaguely relieved, and then you feel habitually stern expression resettles itself on her face. She straightens her blouse and gets back to work. Right, walking up the corridor, you pass several doors marked private. Some of them have nameplates etched on them. One of them is open, in which you see somebody who hasn't muted her phone. Shh. In which you see a man who is doing strange things to a phrenology dummy.
What sort of strange things?
You know, kind of the head massage you get at the hairdressers, if any of you ever go. This is the
Now, I know I haven't got much hair, but come on.
Now, this is actually going to be directed more to any women watching. That really disconcerting head massage that hairdressers get told to do, because apparently it's relaxing and is in fact deeply yes, and is in fact extremely creepy, very disconcerting. It may just be me. I really don't like hairdressing. You could tell.
I mean, doing strange things to a phrenology doll is doing phrenology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what he's doing is he's placing his fingertips at specific points on the head, so that
Pressure
one
point.
Reset switch.
if you had to guess, yeah, you would say pressure points. But yes, it's one finger into each
It's not wearing a
section.
That strikes me as a little weird to be doing in a hospital.
I'm guessing phrenology is not exactly something that has been debunked at this point.
Not chronology, more the pressure points.
Well, knowledge of pressure points is something that's been around for a while, and it's even been studied. I'm not going to say in the mainstream, but it has been studied, because you've got the classic, it is Eastern mysticism, and therefore...
Yeah. In real world, we're slightly early for the real wave of interest in Oriental martial arts, aren't we? That's
Yeah.
a few years time.
as distinct to Occidental martial arts, which is kicking the crap out of someone behind a pub.
Yeah. As Eddie Izzard said, all martial and no art.
Yep. But yes, you are slightly early, but on the other hand, I did rejig Bartitsu, so
This is true, you did.
I mean, I'm guessing we're also a bit too early for things like Chinese laundries to be a thing.
yes, for the most part, yes. You've got different waves of immigration.
And the opium wars probably haven't kicked off yet. So.
No, there is a degree of rumbling.
Yeah.
But equally, of course, the dragons rule in China and the Far East.
So, yes.
Out of curiosity,
that portion of history might be a little different.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, Leo?
out of curiosity, do we get a glimpse of what this person doing the phrenology looks like, or is built like?
He is a very tall, thin man in a black suit. A dress frock coat is flung over the back of a hard chair, and a top hat stands on the table next to his dummy.
Alright, the first part of that description ruled out what I was kind of glad it wasn't.
Were you concerned that Hawk was performing phrenology on the dummy?
Yeah.
Do you think he's got, I don't know,
Practice somewhere.
I was wondering if you
exactly.
thought this was a sympathetic magic the phrenology dummy. It's
No,
actually got
I
a
thought
drawer
perhaps he's
inside.
posing, waiting for people to arrive.
Ah, you think there might be 3 dead doctors behind the door?
Yeah.
Hawk is in fact down
Anything's
in
possible.
pathology, where he is practicing by stabbing the corpses.
Well, was it Study in Scarlet? It was established that Holmes worked out how far bruising could be produced by post-mortem by
Yes.
beating the cadavers.
It is indeed, yes, that is Scarlet.
At least that's what
One
he
of the
told
things
everybody.
that is mentioned before Holmes himself turns up as to what he had been up to and why he was such an unusual fellow before
Yes.
Watson was introduced.
Yes. Yes, Sherlock Holmes was definitely the weird one. Right. Yes, so there is, as I said, the tall, thin doctor, you assume, performing strange phrenology experiments in his office. You're led up a flight of stairs, the constable tailing along behind you. And on the first floor, you pass large glass-doored wards, which, generally speaking, bear a startling resemblance to... Come here. Where are you gone? There you go. To the picture bottom left, which is actually a picture of the wards of St Bartholomew. Slightly later, but not a million miles away. So yes, there are indeed rugs. The floors are carpeted, which is just very odd for anyone who's been in a modern hospital because, of course, cleanliness
Yeah.
less recognised as a major factor in not dying. You are led along past these doors of open wards. Men on the right, ladies on the left. And then at the end of the hall, there is a large set of double doors, which you can see lead to a staircase. And immediately before then are two sets of doors leading to single rooms, which only have small peepholes in for privacy. Outside the first one on the right is a stocky gentleman in a policeman's uniform.
Aha, this must be where we're going.
Indeedy. I like carpets. Okay, Robinson.
There's a reason that at the hospital I used to work at, the top floor where all the exec level lived was referred to as carpet land. So that was the only part of the hospital that was carpeted.
Yeah, I can see that actually. It's that and the small children's areas.
They get a very, very shallow pile.
Yeah, yes, good point. Scotchguard, it's a thing. Carpets, oh god, my bathroom used to have a carpet in when I moved in. No. No, vinyl, please. Right. So, yes, the constable looks at Jarrett and doesn't even wait to be ordered. He just flings the door open and returns to attention at his post. Inside, it's not an excessively large room, but it is quite a decent-sized room. There is a large bed in which a woman is lying, being assessed, possibly, at least examined, by a tall, stocky man in a suit.
Stocky, you say?
Yes.
Okay. Just checking that it's not the description that we have of Hawk.
Every time I bring in a stocky guy with short hair, you lot are just worrying now.
Yes.
Well, it's impossible to tell what length his hair is, because he is wearing, over his hair, he doesn't have a hat. You've seen several people carrying and wearing top hats. What he has is a kerchief style thing tied around his head, complete in black, completely covering his
he's wearing a
scalp.
suit.
He's wearing a suit.
At that point, I'm probably going to just give Carter a little tap on the shoulder and point in his direction before he sees us. Just as a kind of eyes-on sort of thing.
I mean,
I shall
doctors
not.
will be wearing suits, but
Yeah.
And
it's the kerchief that is the weird
yeah,
bit.
I shall nod acknowledgement to the gentleman that just tapped me. Make sure that my sidearm is readily accessible. And then, g'day.
The doctor stands straight and leaps out of his socks and turns to face you. At a guess, you would assume that this gentleman comes from one of the colonial areas.
Ah,
And suddenly the headscarf, as it appears, makes a lot more sense.
presumably what we thought was a headscarf from the back is more likely a turban.
Yeah, it's not the full turban. It's that it almost looks like sort of the surgeon's caps that they tie on, if you know what I mean. The ones that cover the hair, but if you haven't got huge amounts of hair, you can get away with the smaller one. You quite often see them on Sikh officers in the Sikh soldiers. They're the ones that you can still get a helmet over.
Yeah.
Yes, he's wearing one of those. And yes, judging by the skin tone, you are not at all surprised. By the accent, I am not even going near because I've never managed it.
Thank you.
But I wouldn't anyway. Anytime I try that, I end up in goodness gracious me, and that's just no. And that's the comedy show, not the god awful song. And he looks distinctly annoyed. Excuse me, this is a private area,
You're excused.
and I'm afraid you'll have to wait outside.
I'm waiting for what Jarrett is doing.
Yeah.
Jarrett has taken one step to the right of the door and is looking between you and the doctor with... Ooh, who's got perception and wants to have a go?
Yeah, I saved my one and only diamond for this moment.
Okay.
I can have a quick look at.
Now, perception is good, I believe. Where's my character sheet gone?
Average perception.
Good was one extra card, wasn't it? So,
You round down, don't you?
Yes.
unfortunately.
Sorry.
So it does mean
that's
I'm
right
only
then.
getting 9.
Okay.
I'll get an 8.
I don't think I will bother actually because I'm just be wasting cards.
Okay.
And it's not really quite low. Actually, yeah, I will. I'll go through and also in total, because that counts as 1. I've got 5, but it gets rid of that 5. So hopefully, I'll draw something higher.
Right. So your totals were...
9.
Okay.
8.
Okay. I love that 9 sits straight on the line there. It's 8 or 10. I'm going to give the 9. There is a flicker of satisfaction on Jarrett's face. But to the rest of you, he just seems to still have the same vaguely disapproving expression he's had.
Doctor, you're saving your patient's life medically. We're here to save her generally. And you too, for that matter.
I really don't
Attended
see...
your patient.
I think we're
You're now
more
involved.
here to save her husband.
Jarrett steps forward with a polite smile on his face. Dr. Singh, it's lovely to finally meet you. I've heard so much about your work.
Oh, it's one of those.
Where did Jarrett's accent?
Jarrett's accent went because you have no idea how hard it is maintaining a northern accent when you don't do north. I don't even do northern accents when I end up in Yorkshire for weeks on end. I am completely immune to picking them up. So it's gone away. But yes, he has a very almost smarmy tone to his voice. This is Dr. Edward Singh. He's worked with the Yard before. Never had the pleasure personally, but he's proved of great help in some of the more difficult cases we've experienced. The doctor looks slightly mollified at this, but is still looking daggers at you lot.
I'll just raise an eyebrow.
I wasn't aware that you were going to be bringing in anybody not of the Force.
Any non-Jedi?
Yep, no non-Jedi on here. Yes, his accent is only tinged with Indian subcontinent. Going out on a limb, you'd probably guess Oxbridge.
We are peripherally associated with matters involving this woman and have been asked to come along and ask her some questions.
I'm not sure I approve of that.
I'm not sure I can.
Is there a window in this room?
Yes.
Lyricane is just going to go wander over and take a look out of the window.
Right. Okay, make me a perception check, please.
Uh,
Let me just check I've recalled all the... Let me just recall the cards first to clear myself out.
Okay. This is... because I want to keep... All of those are really good, so I am going to make this a 10.
Okay. Okie dokie. Directly outside the window, there is a stretch of lawn with some very well cultivated trees lining a walk up to a large iron gate which appears to lead out possibly onto the street.
And this is looking down on it from the first floor?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyone walking around, or...?
There are a couple of people being pushed by... Two of them by nurses, one of them by a lady in a dress, in wheelchairs, being pushed up and down the walkways.
Okay.
But that's all you can see so far.
Sure.
Yes, I came up with Dr. Singh, the forensic surgeon, a while ago. I quite like him. He's an arse, but I like him.
I have a question for Jarrett.
Mm-hmm.
You said the doctor helps you in the more difficult of cases, did you say?
I did. Good Lord.
I do apologise.
That's okay. Suddenly for a second I thought Fishy had run over Pippin.
No, she's chirpy.
He's sitting over there glaring at me for not feeding him.
Out of curiosity, what's difficult with Mrs. Harrison's case? Is it not a case of she was in a fire and, for example, smoke inhalation and things like that, the normal stuff?
The doctor looks at you and raises his eyebrows and tilts his head inquiringly towards Jarrett. I'm really not sure that you're in any position to ask for that information. It is confidential.
But did you
Then a
not...
different question. Are you here on your in a capacity as her doctor or on behalf of the yard?
I work out of this hospital, but in this capacity I have been asked to consult by Scotland Yard.
Excellent. That's really all we needed to know.
Who are you people?
Sir Randolph Quigley.
Let's give him a shot.
These are associates of mine. And a representative of the Bavarian government.
I just bow.
His eyebrows creep up to roughly there, but they don't go all the way up to the hairline. He's intimidated, but he's not completely discombobulated. He's dealt with worse, as far as he's concerned. He's obviously never met you. He's a high-ranking doctor in London. What are you going to do?
I'm also going to pass on the information that we've been asked by Lord Fulham to investigate things.
Well,
See if that gets
if
any-
you are vouched for by the good inspector, then really I don't see anything I can do to stop you. But
I'm going to give Jarrett a stern look at that point.
But I will request that you not harass Mrs. Harrison any more than is absolutely necessary.
We will endeavour to keep our questions brief.
Excellent.
And to the point.
He looks you over. Less so Lyricane and Randolph, but Carter and Alexei. He's looking very, very dubiously at.
I shall function by winning smile.
That
No,
doesn't help.
Is the lady
It
in
wasn't
any
meant to.
immediate medical danger?
He looks like he's not inclined to tell you and then sighs. The lady in question is fortunate to a very great degree. She was extracted from the conflagration before any significant damage could be done to her lungs.
Is she awake?
Is that a no?
She is not at present in any great danger of passing away.
Congratulations. Your excellent education has allowed you to identify the meaning of the word immediate. I'm going to have to ask you to leave now, Doctor, since you are not actually authorized nor qualified to take part in the conversation we need to have.
Okay, yeah, Burns unit, second floor.
Let me escort you out.
Is Adelaide awake?
Perception check, please.
Really?
Yep. I'm making you use all the diamonds.
I'm going to leave it at 6.
Okay.
I'll take a quick look at Adelaide, see if she's awake and will have heard this.
Okay.
Which puts that at a mighty 1, accompanied by a 1, getting rid of 2 lousy cards, giving me a total of 8.
Ooh, okay.
Because I have a diamond, but I don't want to use a king on this.
I don't have a diamond.
I'm trying to avoid making checks unless I have to, because I've got some stunning cards in my hand.
Oh yeah, I don't really want to have to make unnecessary checks either.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get some stunning cards into my hand.
Yeah, you won't get the really good ones, because I'm sat on them. Okay. So, the situation is as follows, and don't forget to refill your cards.
Oh yeah.
I like Dr. Singh. If I run this again, Dr. Singh's going to be a feature.
Excellent.
In a different universe, Dr. Singh has his own TV show. If you think of it,
Dr. Singh medicine
investigates.
speak.
yeah, if you think of it in those terms, yes.
In a very, very different universe, Dr. Singh and Randolph might get on, you never know.
Well, if they didn't end up bitching at each other first.
In a different universe, there might be a number of NPCs who Randolph gets on with.
Yes, Randolph might actually meet somebody he doesn't shout at straight away.
There's not plenty of people he doesn't shout at straight away.
Person you got on best with so far is a cabbie.
That's because the cabbie
Could be
knows the
fine
place.
with dwarves.
Well, yeah, actually.
And one of the urchins.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, but only one of the urchins. You managed to piss the other one off.
And I haven't particularly shouted at any of this shower that I'm hanging around with at the moment.
Shah. Yes. Okay, yeah. Yes, I'd created Dr. Singh and then I was thinking, oh shit, should I put him in? Should I not put him in? Oh, screw it. Yeah, he's a good character. Okay.
I apologise for immediately alienating him.
That's okay. He's a tit. But he is a tit who's also a fun character. And who may possibly have, actual proper background and everything in the journal. So should anybody else run it, I'd be awfully tempted.
I can see that.
Despite the fact I very rarely run fellas. So,
Yeah, having cast a quick eye as to where that excuse me, whether she was awake, I will then physically escort Dr. Singh out and then
does it
stand in the
sound
door.
like you're putting him in an arm lock?
Pretty much.
If need be.
Could I see whether she was awake or not? Or
You are fairly sure she's asleep. However, Carter, who got slightly more than you, saw her eyelids flicker. She's not clearly, but you're fairly sure, as far as Carter's concerned, she is holding her eyes at that slight half-closed thing and just looking out under the lashes, but you're the different angle, being at the window,
Yeah.
so
yeah,
you're
sure.
different view. So she appears to be watching this, but she's giving every indication to everyone else that she's fast asleep.
Once I've got Dr. Singh to the door, I shall usher him through the door,
Okay.
bid him farewell, and then shut the door with a sudden loudness.
Right.
Not
Alienated
expecting the suddenly loud door.
by
That will be happening
party.
underneath Randolph's next line. But as this is happening, Randolph will look to Jarrett and say, "Do you have any other games you want to play, Inspector, or can we get on with saving this lady's husband?"
He doesn't look impressed. By which I mean modern version of that. He's not overly happy that you're onto him. This was his little power trip, and he had hoped. He was trying to throw you guys off.
I just is there a chair next to the bedside?
Yep. There's actually two. There's one each side.
Yeah. Okay. I wander from the window while they're escorting the doctor out and just take a seat in the closer one to me.
Okay. So, right. You can indeed sit down. From this angle, you're almost sure that you can see the whites of her eyes just under the side of her eyelid.
Sure.
Did the suddenly loud slam shut door cause a...
Yes. Yes, actually, you sit down, the door slams, and yes, she twitches noticeably.
Time of day? Early evening, is it?
It is indeed.
Okay. I up the sparkle level a little.
There are gas lamps in this room, by the way.
Sure. And just turn to and say, raise my voice slightly. Mrs. Harrison, pleasure to make your acquaintance again, albeit under somewhat more trying circumstances than last time.
She deliberately, she does. As if coming awake.
Apologies for the intrusion on your convalescence.
I'm sorry. I
look about for some water.
Yeah, there is a carafe of water and a couple of glasses.
I pour her a glass of water. Obviously, we are going to play this out. We both know that we are.
There's also a cut glass bowl with red grapes and a small pair of scissors.
I don't go quite so far.
Yeah, you're not going to feed her grapes.
Yeah. Not yet, at any rate.
Fair enough.
I pass her the glass of water.
Okay. She struggles slightly to sit up in her bed and sips delicately at it, relying on you largely to hold it.
Yes.
Looking at her, you can see quite clearly, you don't need a perception check for this, you can see clearly she's got traces of soot around the inside of her nostrils. And her hair, although well brushed, is slightly uneven. It looks like it's been scorched away on one side. Not a huge amount, but frizzed.
No.
Right.
But to be fair, for a house that burnt down, she's got away fairly lightly.
Yep. She has indeed got ever so lucky. Ever so lucky. Yep. She is, and in person, because you only really sort of saw her in passing at the party. Adelaide Harrison is, from your knowledge, around 30. Who does, or certainly was doing at the party the previous night, a damn good job of looking about 5 years younger via cosmetics and fashion. Is an extremely beautiful woman and who habitually affects a wide-eyed expression of fascination with everything and everybody.
So she's kind of, maybe not so much known for, but she has the. She often plays the ingenue. Okay.
Yeah. She gives no indication of being stupid. It's
No.
not that she's vapid. It's just that wherever she's looking, it's as if she is giving you her whole attention.
Sure.
And
Is
whatever
there-
you're doing is fascinating.
Is there a significant age difference between her and her husband?
I will take a connections check on that one, please.
Sure. What is connections? It's clubs or spades?
It
Where's my
is...
character sheet?
Hang on.
Spades.
Spades. Yes, okay. As we all came through in the same place. Spades, spades, spades.
I start at 8.
Okay.
Try. Yeah, is it something that I have to throw a card in for?
No, that-
or... Right.
No, that's fine. It was a matter of gossip, but it was a matter of gossip in the tabloids, or not the tabloids, the society, in a different country. So it's something that you would still need to know, but 8 will do it. 8's fine.
Like if it's significant, like she seems like, or rather George Harrison seems like the kind of person whose connections would make the society pages in other countries.
Yes. Does indeed. He is about 5 years her junior.
Oh, he's younger than I thought.
Likewise.
Yeah. He cuts a heroic figure, but he's only, if you remember correctly, about 25.
Right. I think I had pegged him at least 35 to 40.
He tries to give that impression.
And he's a captain.
Yes. Yes.
25 is young even for a captain.
Indeedy. But yes, there was a
Yeah.
minor, not scandal exactly, but it raised eyebrows.
Sure.
Because, yeah, you would normally expect, under the situation, for the age gap to be reversed.
Yeah.
An older man marrying a younger woman, very much more socially acceptable. But, yes, a famous lady of the demi-monde marrying someone quite that much younger than her.
But presumably Harrison is well connected himself.
He is. He's not nobility, but he does come from money.
Sure. Apologies for the intrusion, Mrs. Harrison, but we do have a few questions regarding the events of this evening to trouble you with.
Please call me Adelaide. It seems churlish of me to insist that we stand on formality when you're planning to help me and help my poor dear George. And she lays one hand on Lyricane's and glances down and pulls it back in a so sorry. Yes, this woman has studied. Sue me.
Yes. Quite all right. These are difficult times.
Oh, absolutely.
Please feel free to call me Lyricane.
Thank you. And who are your associates?
Randolph, by the way, is standing well back over by the window.
Okay.
Sort of keeping out of this because they've met before and she didn't like him.
No, she didn't. She really didn't. Sorry, excuse
Nobody
me.
seems to like him. I don't know why.
I love him. I think he's fantastic, but he's also a complete pain in the arse. Which is one of the
Was
best
I-
types of characters.
Was I there when she took a dislike to you, or I can't? I'm trying to remember if I don't.
It was at the
No.
museum.
It was, but I
Yeah.
don't think I was.
And
I
don't
wasn't
think
in
you
that.
were
Oh, yeah.
No.
Okay. So, certainly. Do you go by Lord or Sir? It would be Sir Randolph. Yeah.
So,
there. Randolph, yes.
Sir Randolph Quigley, Master Carter, and Master Alexei. My associates.
Just out of
Was-
curiosity, you've got Lyricane sat next to the bed, Randolph at the window. What's at the foot of the bed?
at the foot of the bed, you have the obligatory chart. You also have a pot plant, a large yucca type arrangement.
So
That's
there's nothing really stopping me from just leaning against the wall
No.
opposite the bed, sort of thing.
No, you can do that. You can stand next to the pot plant.
That's where I'm going to be then.
Yeah, we're talking 6-foot high rubber plant here.
Yeah. I'm assuming Carter's still over near the door.
Certainly, Jarrett is still standing where he was at the door.
Yeah, but he's not looking too happy either.
He's looked happier, you're reasonably sure, but not since you've met him.
I'm trying to keep her focus basically on me during this.
Okay.
We will endeavour to be away as soon as possible so that we might find the miscreants who did this. But
Oh,
could you perhaps explain, tell us a bit more about the events of the evening? Obviously, the good inspector's runners would not have the full story.
well, it was all so unexpected.
I'm sure it
You
was.
hear stories of anarchists, but I never dreamed we'd be targeted by such a random act of violence.
Well,
Sorry, is he actually saying that?
Yes, that's in character.
He beat me to it.
Hang on a minute. I'm actually going to have to make a check for this.
I have poor social graces, so that would totally fit in place for me.
Yep, Carter beat you to it. So Randolph even beat you to it. That's going to be... okay, so that's going to be on clubs. Oh, shit. Oh. I'm not using that one. Stuff it, it's just going to have to go on a base score. Yeah, she is unable to conceal the slightly poisonous glance she throws at Randolph. Unfortunately, it's a pure reflex thing.
we can assign motive to this later, but please continue.
Yes, I'm sorry, your employees outburst slightly. Sorry,
Companions.
associates outburst slightly
I'm probably going to get
discombobulated
kicked
me.
out the room for this, but I'm going to chirp up. I'm sorry, but I'm not taking this act.
Act,
Yes,
Master?
act. You're quite capable of answering the questions.
I actually at this point I actually look at Alexei and like with a somewhat concerned look upon my face. This is actually the most concerned that you have seen Lyricane look to date. But Mrs. Harrison, I will. If there's any distractions, I'm basically going to try and draw her attention back to me.
Okay.
You were saying, Mrs. Harrison?
Yes. You've got the Lyricane, of course, has that whole fascination thing going by default. So
Yeah.
I'm not demanding roles on this sort of thing. We know that he can do the whole. Look at me.
This is local glamour. I want to. I want to keep her focus on me.
Yeah.
She is enthralled by your sparkle.
Yes. She is fascinated by your sparkles, I have to say. I mean, for all that she's being an arse about it, she has had a bit of a shit time.
Yes.
We were settling down for dinner. George had just poured an aperitif, and James had started laying the table with the fish, and
Your butler, I presume.
well, yes, blushes slightly. His
Sorry. Oh yeah.
oh yeah, he was Batman to George in his army career, and George brought him home with it. Yes, thank you. Yes,
This
runs
is
around in
the
tights. Runs around in tights and a cowl. And George brought him home as a souvenir.
Good attendants are invaluable regardless of.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And he's just so useful.
I don't think even Randolph would refer to another human being as a souvenir.
Yeah. I really like Adelaide Harrison. I think you guys are going to hate her if you don't already, but I really like her.
Yeah, she is definitely
Like
going
in
down
episode
in my.
one.
She is definitely going down in my estimation. However, smile, nod.
Yes, and yes, and yes, James had just laid out the fish course, and well, there was smoke, I believe, and George sent James out to investigate, just in case Cook had an unfortunate incident again with dessert. I'm afraid she really, really was not able to use the new stove, and has had some unfortunate incidents with biscuits.
These things do take time to get used to.
Yes. Anyway, yes, George sent James out, and then all the lights went out, which is odd, because I might expect a draft to put out candles, but I've never encountered one that would put out all of our lamps.
Presumably gas lamps. So.
Yes. We have gas completely throughout the house. Had, I'm afraid. And
So, with these lamps blowing out, this is just so I understand how they work.
okay.
With the lamps blowing out, does the gas stop flowing?
Oh, you would like that, wouldn't you?
No, I wouldn't.
That
would
No.
explain a huge amount.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The
But
connected
as
pipes
I
broke
want to
somewhere.
make sure how the gas lamps
Yeah.
work.
Basically, each lamp has a tap.
Right, so it has to physically be turned on.
You have to physically turn it out. Yes.
Okay.
Thus, if it's not turned out, but the flame goes out, lots of gas.
Yeah.
I
Alternatively,
don't seem
A big
really
bang.
old, but I remember lamps like that.
Yeah, I think my
The only ones
grandparents.
I remember like that are handheld.
Yeah.
yes, I've used handheld ones. Not also with the pipes. Any rupture in the pipes will then start to cause gas build-ups in the walls
Yeah.
and under floorboards and such.
Yes. Yes. Isn't that amusing, guys? Yes. And natural gas, of course, doesn't actually smell.
Yes.
They
They
until
add the aroma
No,
to it so that we can
but
tell it's there.
surely, if this woman's as smart as you say she is, she wouldn't stay in the room.
I'm guessing things happen too quickly for.
But for a gas build-up to cause the damage that's been done,
I
they
think
had more than enough time to leave the room.
I don't think it's a gas build-up per se that actually took her out. It's there was a bombing at the house and gas later then basically built up and exploded. But that's my supposition as opposed to
yeah. So
any help that. But yes, carrying on with the
yes,
story.
yes. So yes, all the lights went out. So George got up to start turning off the lamps. Because it can be terribly dangerous. And then, well, I heard a thud from downstairs. Similar to when Cook had that terrible incident involving the chairs and the sideboard and
Well,
the mouse.
Cook's adventures aside, a thud from downstairs.
Yes, sorry. Yes, there was a thud from downstairs. Now, naturally, I went to ring for James, but George said not to because the act of pulling the bell might have caused a spark. So he indicated that perhaps I should go downstairs and check and just make sure that Cook was all right and go and find James.
He suggested that you did and not himself.
Yes, I mean he was at this point, having turned down the lamps, he went then to bring all the windows open. I mean, it's absolutely the worst if your dress ends up smelling of gas.
Well, indeed.
Sorry, I've just been chat. Yes, exactly. How do you know the thud a butler makes when someone puts a dagger in their left eye, Fish?
Yeah, you've run enough games, Lord.
Yeah, so I stepped out into the hall and I did call for James and there was no response, and he's normally so good at coming back to me. And really, I have no idea what happened then, because everything sort of went black. And I thought that all the lamps had gone out at that point, but then I realised I must have swooned.
Did you hear anything prior to your swoon?
I don't think so. I don't believe so. It was all terribly confusing.
Please
Terribly.
do try and concentrate, Mrs. Harrison. Anything that you can remember or tell us at this point will aid us in hopefully finding your husband quicker.
Well, and you're going to think me a silly woman for this.
Of course not.
I did wonder if perhaps a crow had fallen down the chimney into the dining room. Well, you see, I heard this thud from the room behind me, but it wasn't a "oh dear, I've knocked over the chair" thud, or "I've tripped over the doorstop" again thud. It was a light thud, which makes me think it was something like, a large bird or perhaps a cat fell down the chimney.
Oh, an international.
Cat burglar.
Yes.
Could it have been an intruder coming through a window?
I've never had an intruder come through my window. I'm afraid I've no basis for comparison.
Okay, would it be
Or
like a
perhaps-
visitor coming through the window?
Sorry, a what coming through the window?
A visitor.
Well, Alexi, is it?
Yes.
I don't know where you're from, but in polite society, traditionally visitors don't come
They do,
in
unless
through
you
our
don't want
windows.
people knowing you're having a visitor.
Master Alexi, if we might return to the more pertinent matters at hand.
You know the daggers she chucked at Randolph?
That's fine.
Randolph is working very hard to stifle a grin.
Yeah, she's transferred the
I have 4
daggers.
faithful graces.
Yes,
Yes,
she's,
I know.
yes, the daggers have been retargeted from Randolph. They're now very much targeted at Alexi, and
But
she's
you
still
did not-
trying very hard.
But you did not. You did not sustain a blow or anything like that before you.
I don't
Slipped into
believe so.
unconsciousness.
I don't believe so. No.
Right.
Not as far as I can tell. Obviously, as I am but a weak and feeble woman.
I'm going to turn to
Loki makes no comment at that. What room would that have been in?
That was the dining room where George was and where I heard the noise. That would have been in darkness by that point, because of course we lost all the lights. I was in the hallway outside.
I shall
So-
turn to the inspector. He is still with us, isn't he?
Yes, he is enjoying this immensely.
Inspector, how many of your men have searched the house, and did you find George?
Well, the house
Because if
is
the thump
largely
is hitting the floor,
wreckage.
he's in trouble.
It's largely wreckage at the moment. It's not really safe to send many of my constables in until the fire is completely out. Adelaide
Agreed.
looks aghast at this, and even her cheeks manage to pale a little.
I've got a.
So
Now
actually,
looking to our friends rather than her or the
Yeah.
inspector.
Mhm.
I've got a horrible feeling that wasn't a crow landing on the floor, but more of a hawk.
indeed. But also at this point, and I turn to apologies if anything that we say might sound a little distressing, but we are just trying to investigate all possible avenues here. Is it entirely possible that Captain Harrison is not missing, but still within the house, or do we know for sure that
Well,
that he was not on the premises? So.
I believe. Well, it all got terribly confused after this point. If I may continue my tale, because
Certainly.
I don't wish to confuse myself with jumping to and fro in the story like some kind of
Course not.
over-energetic rabbit.
Indeed. Please continue.
Well, you see, after I swooned, I recovered myself and I progressed down the stairs, down to the servants' quarters, expecting at any moment to see James and Cook, possibly engaged in some kind of tidying after a minor domestic disaster. But smoke started coming up from the kitchens, and I realised it would be far safer to beat a retreat and reclaim George, and then we could get outside and perhaps notify the fire brigade, and they could ensure that everybody was out of the house.
So you returned to the dining room.
I did, yes.
And what did you find?
Well, what I found, unfortunately, was one of the windows had been completely smashed open. And glass was just everywhere. And my poor
Inside.
George... Inside?
The glass was inside.
Perception check, please.
I will throw this out then.
I will. Yeah, I'm going to jump in on that perception check. 'cause-
Suddenly everyone's terribly interested in a perception check. Interesting.
Well,
I can't.
Okay.
no,
So
knowing
what's
whether
the
the glass
perception
was
check
inside or
for?
outside.
Whoa, hello.
Oh, let's go with.
Why are we doing a perception check to know if the glass is inside or outside? 'Cause it's just her telling us.
You know, we're
We're
whether
observing
she's telling
her.
the truth or not.
to judge
Okay.
her, yes.
Best of luck then, 'cause I've got nothing.
6 plus 7, 12, 13.
Okay.
So 19 for me.
10 for me.
Fish. Is that... Did you do it 12? Okay. Right. Let's recall all that lot. She is... she says, oh, inside. But you don't exactly need to be off lie to me to pick up on the hesitation in her voice.
Right.
She is not being honest.
Sure.
We guessed that.
So,
Yeah, but specifically not being
Right.
honest, not rather than generically not being honest.
Lurricane notes the answer.
Yeah.
So you return to the dining room. A window was smashed.
Yes. And
There was no one there.
well, you're going to laugh to hear it, but I saw George's feet being pulled through the window after the rest of him. Somebody had clearly smashed their way in through our dining room window and had extracted my darling George.
How long has George been with you?
In what context?
How many contexts are there that a servant could be with?
No, George is her husband.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was thinking of the butler for a second. but
Yeah, James. No, James buggered off downstairs and hasn't been seen since.
It was just James I
long-
was after.
Yeah.
How long has James been with you?
Oh, James has only been with us since our marriage, but I gather that he was with George right from the time he served in the army. I believe they were They were tent mates, and they were very close. Saved each other's lives a number of times, I gather. And James, of course, is exceptional at ironing.
Sure. So how long would you say that you and George had been parted?
Oh, gosh. The swoon, of course. It
Of course.
completely disorientated me and distorted my sense of time.
To the best of your recollection, Adelaide.
Well, I would.
And I put
believe-
my hand over her hand at this point.
Oh, that's just mean. That's cruel. That's cheating, Lyricane. Okay. She looks up, and you can actually see tears starting in her eyes. She actually does the misty eye thing, which, by the way, is bloody difficult to do on command, having done it. There's a little catch in her voice. I don't imagine it can be for more than a minute or so. But I didn't hear any glass breaking, so I can only assume perhaps 5 minutes
Right.
would be sensible.
So you saw your husband's feet being dragged out through the window.
Yes.
At which point,
I fled for the front door. Obviously, I called after him because this was no time for acrobatics and heroics, and I fled for the front door. But by that point, fire had come up from the servants' quarters, and well, the door was almost on fire, and then there was a loud explosion below me, and the next thing I know, I must have been blown out of the door. And I was on the grass outside.
right, okay. Lyricane just takes a moment to digest.
Okay.
You're certain you did not hear any glass smashing?
Well, if I had heard it, I believe I would have told you, because I have nothing to hide.
And you are absolutely certain? And at this point, I am looking very, very earnestly into her face.
Okay.
That the glass that you saw in the dining room from the shattered window was on the inside.
Right.
Anything that you can tell us, however small or seemingly insignificant, will aid us quite considerably in the recovery of your husband.
I really want to say something, but I'm not going to.
Is it in character to say it?
Yes and no.
Will it
Yes and no, that's impressive.
Will it cause Lyricane to walk over and slap you?
Almost
Yes,
certainly.
no is- yes, it's in character to say it, but yes, it's also in character for Alexei to bite his tongue at this point.
I've been biting my tongue for a long while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So say we all.
Yes. Oh, I'm having immense fun with her. She's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Yes.
So,
I do
Let's put it this way:
adore.
if this was real life, I'd have already left.
Yes. Yeah.
I wouldn't have had time for that.
No. This is fine. Ironically, it's under gambling. Is my best bet. So, it's going to be an opposed check. Your perception versus her bluffing.
Oh dear. Are the jokers color coded?
No. A joker is a joker is a joker. This isn't
Cool.
Deadlands. You're okay.
Thankfully.
No, but then all the cards, all the bad jokers would go tonight anyway, so you still wouldn't have to worry.
Yeah, how many Deadlands characters have I created? How many times have I gotten a harrowed?
Yes. Don't know how you manage it. Okay, so
Jokers
she
are
is
15, yes, or 14?
15. hang on.
21.
10, Jack,
Jesus
Queen,
Christ.
King,
He's making sure
Ace.
he
Yeah,
hits
15.
Jokers are wild and have a face value of 15 in any suit the user desires.
Sure, it's the 15 of diamonds, 21.
Holy
Can I
moly.
just say, I thought she had this in the bag.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
My only other red card at this point was the 2 of hearts.
I am
Chuck it in
annoyed.
for good measure.
Yes. No, once I've revealed my card, I'm very sorry. You can't say, and these. And this as well. Right. Damn. I thought I was doing really well there. I'm sat there on the Queen going, if she needs to fake someone out. I've got the Queen of Diamonds there. It's fine.
Yeah, the Joker was
What do you get? Joker.
my
Bastard.
ace. My
Probably
Joker
what
was
you
the
want
ace in my
to
sleeve, but
Well, technically, Joker is
exactly.
Yeah, but
It
that
was
just
only
gets
when I was
crowded.
halfway through saying the sentence, it's like, oh, right.
Yeah, you know, your sentence starts fine and then you realise where it's going, but you got nowhere else to take it. Ben Dunn t-shirt. Right.
I play my Joker.
You can see she masks up very well. She is presenting a very strong poker face to you.
I'm basically want to be like, her focus is entirely on me. Like, I don't want her to be looking at anyone else. And like I also say, just between anything you can say will be in the strictest of confidence, and it is just between us. Like, I will pitch my voice lower as necessary.
Okay. She says the glass was on the inside, but to your eyes, she is clearly not telling the truth. You weren't sure before, now you're damn sure.
At this point, it's like whisper pitched for her only.
Mm-hmm.
We both know what is going on here. You can tell and be honest with me, because if we don't find your husband, there is more at stake here. As well, we both know. And actually, there's like, I drop a little bit of the social nicety from my voice.
Right. Ooh, Luricane pulls out the big guns. Okay.
Uh-oh.
She grits her teeth, takes a deep breath, and then deflates. You could see she was gearing up for high dudgeon.
Yeah.
I missed your title, sir.
Hurricane of House Morcane, Margrave Freyon.
Margrave, my husband is missing. Now, I am about the only person who can ensure he is returned to me intact. The manor has completely 180'd. This is not ingenue in any way, shape or form. Suddenly you're thinking, yeah, this is the woman who was brokering shit.
Exactly. It's like we've had to play the social game in order to cut through the niceties.
Yeah. Now, I don't know how you are involved in this situation, because certainly I never involved you. And you do keep some very odd company, but as I say, my husband has been taken, and I very much would like him back intact.
Which is what we will endeavour to do. We are here at the request of Lord Fullenham.
Are we finished playing games now, madam?
I turn to Lord Willie. I very much hope so. Look, Adelaide, we are all trying to achieve the same outcome here. We want your husband back, and we are attempting to ensure that nothing untoward happens to the safety of the crown. We know what deals were going on.
Oh, do you?
Well, at least some of them.
May I just say that I'm a little concerned by one of your statements, madam.
Are you, Sir Randolph?
It rather implied a potential intent to prison.
This time, the blood leaving her face is clearly not practiced. She goes absolutely white as a sheet.
I can think of only one way in which you could ensure the return of your husband, given that we all know, in principle, who has him, and that is to hand over something that is not yours and is the interest of the Crown.
The Crown, sir, has no interest in it as yet, because it is an item to be freely bought and sold. The Crown
Not
has
one
yet
belonging to you.
we are acting as agents in this matter for the owner.
Who is missing?
Indeed.
It is true that at present we are unable to get in touch with our client and ascertain his wishes, so we have to rely on the brief that he has given us.
However, matters are obviously not proceeding according to previously agreed. Therefore, we have to consider somewhat more unorthodox solutions. And attempting to sell or broker any further agreements at this point would be to the detriment of all parties.
What is it you think you can achieve that I cannot?
We can go and find your husband.
Sorry, Fish, what were you saying?
So that was reasonably quietly over by the window. That was, who's in the hospital bed?
Well, that's more. We can go and find your husband. Was a slightly more politer way of saying that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
And the timing would have been about right. That was, as Livercane was saying that, Randolph was hopefully masked over at the window.
It was. It's just I wanted to know what you'd said.
We both know that, and a glance at Inspector Jarrett, more official channels are not going to get this done.
You have to understand, I was dealing in good faith.
Obviously.
My goal
Good faith
was
is a cheap commodity.
My goal was merely to get the best price for my client's goods.
Speaking of
Also
which,
understandable.
Sorry, Alexi?
speaking of which, I don't want an answer for it because I don't want to know where, but are you the only person that knows where it is?
She actually looks like she's thinking about that one. At the moment, I believe I am. I can only assume this is why George has been taken.
So George doesn't know where it is.
Oh, he's a dear, sweet man. And if fisticuffs are in order, there are none better. And, you know, if one wishes to remove something in the dead of night from a foreign country, again, none better. But when it comes to organisation, really keeping the facts...
differ on that last statement.
However, I can quite understand why you might not have kept him apprised of all the details in the interest of security.
He
However,
does like to talk.
Is it safe?
She grits her teeth and then looks at the inspector.
If she tells us it's in an envelope on the mantelpiece, and it's in her pocket, I'm just going to know.
How big do you think her pockets are? As I have this TARDIS here. Skunk.
Yeah, it was actually hanging over the
Yeah.
fireplace in the second dining room.
Yes. um,
Um,
I don't think this is a matter for the police anymore.
that was going to be my next move.
I would appreciate it, Inspector, if you could give me a moment with these gentlemen. She sits up, bolt upright, doesn't need any help. Quite clearly. Jarrett gives her a filthy look and then stomps out.
I'll open the door and
Yeah. And push
not
him.
let it hit his backside on the way out.
Oh, mean. Right. What is it you need to know?
I can assure you you are amongst friends here, Adelaide. Right.
I'm willing to believe I am not among enemies. That is as far as I am willing to push this issue at the moment.
Good start.
Very well. So, do you have any idea as to where your husband might be at this point?
I have no idea at the moment as to where my husband is. If things go according to plan, I know where he will be.
And where is that?
My husband is due to be at King's Cross Station.
Who else knows?
When?
It will be in response to a message I send.
And what would be the what would be the trigger for you sending this message?
The trigger would be that certain items that have been entrusted to my care will have been given into porterage to take to a third location.
The interested parties, or the purchasing parties, rather.
Yes, I would be giving them control over said property.
And your husband would be on his way to King's Cross in order to shepherd your client out of the country.
After the item has been given over, I gather that there is little interest in my client anymore. I would assume that my husband is currently with my client, but that may be hopeful, mere optimism on my part.
Why would your husband be with your client at this point if he had been abducted?
Because the client is missing.
Well, if they've not been abducted by the same person, then things get immeasurably more awkward.
Which indeed they might be. How many parties were you dealing with here?
Well, she considers briefly dropping back into ingenue mode and then thinks there's not much
as
hope
she's
for
contemplating it, I shake my head, just briefly.
I was having dealings with a member of the Prussian aristocracy, but I gather they were never serious buyers. We were merely gauging their interest.
Would that be Graf Klein by any chance?
Yes, Friedrich. Lovely man. Don't trust him at all.
A genuine chuckle. We don't.
Good. You're not complete fools then. But yes, if he was interested, that meant the Prussian government was interested, which meant that, well, frankly, the price would go up.
The Russian government are always interested in anything that concerns one of their citizens.
The Crown was to be the purchaser of choice. We merely presented this as a closed bid auction. We had 3 potential customers. My client was always interested in merely handing over the goods to the Crown. He has certain loyalties and certain appreciations.
I have one question.
Yes.
And it's a rather precise question.
Oh, is it?
Yes. What were you selling?
I'm sorry. Were the adults talking a little quickly for you?
What do you
Oh,
think
I know
you were
what
selling?
we
You
think
know what
you're
it was.
selling.
What do you think it was?
Well, I was assuming that I was selling the plans to a superweapon.
That's all I needed to know.
Right, we're on the same page.
Yes.
So, the third client, your third bid would be from the Lord of Lockshiel.
She looks genuinely shocked.
We are done playing any sort of games here, Mrs. Harrison. We are simply trying to ensure the safety of those involved.
I gather... Yes, the Laird sent a representative down. I've personally had dealings before with the Steam Lords. I am not overly enthusiastic as to their goals. George, I gather, was at school with at least one of them.
Then why
But,
entertain the bid?
Do you know how you make somebody pay more for something?
You're playing games again.
It's simple business. Perceived rarity, perceived value. This was an extremely valuable item, but left to his own devices, young Chekhov would have handed over these plans for nothing more than a small house in the country and a workshop where his little dwarves could play to their heart's content, but would never be free. To be free, one requires money. And in this case, with the Prussian interest and with the Steam Lords being interested, the Crown was going to have to pay through its nose in order to obtain these plans.
I
And they
look
would
at
have done so.
I look at Sir Randolph at this.
Do let me know when you're done.
You're
You're not allowed to hit her. She's a wounded woman.
I turn to Sir Randolph. Your previous remarks are slightly more on the nose than any of us had guessed. I turn back to
I had a feeling in that direction.
right. We wish to expedite this matter now. Have you had any dealings with Mr. Hawke?
I haven't had any
Benjamin
dealings.
Hawke.
No, I've had no dealings with anyone using that name. Could you describe the gentleman?
I give her a detailed description of what he looks
Okay.
like.
You know
Yes.
better than the rest of us.
Which is
Yeah.
stocky, short cropped hair.
Yeah.
You've had that. You've had that consistent description a couple of times, and
Yeah.
you've seen him. So yeah, that was Mr. Welsh. He was, I gather, a factor for the Laird of Lockshiel.
Was he the one who submitted the bid to you?
Yes, him and the young boy. The son, I believe.
Alistair.
Yes, that would be it.
Do you know where they might be found? Did they leave any kind of address?
They didn't leave me any address. No. They always contacted me. They had a quite spectacular bid, but they attempted to try and move it ahead of the sealed auction.
How are you intending to contact them? Should they have won, or should you have entertained their bid? Or
Well-
at least how if they had believed that you were entertaining their bid?
Well, we were to have had a dinner party where all parties were to have attended, with sufficient people around that, international incidents could be avoided. Because, let's face it, nobody is going to start stabbing people in the back, literally, or over the duck.
The British Museum begs otherwise.
That was the plan, anyway. We were displaying the merchandise at that soiree. That was the goal, anyway.
And you had no idea that your client was going to abscond that evening?
No. So he was completely he was completely happy with the deal. I mean, he would rather, as I said, have given the plans straight to the Crown, but once I explained to him the situation regarding, his personal freedoms and the likelihood that he would simply be allowed to get on with his work, he totally understood the position. And I don't believe he absconded. I believe he was taken.
Couple of small details.
I gesture to Lord Quigley because she has actually exasperated Lurricane at this point.
I'm sorry, it's not often I get to play absolute
Oh no, she's
weasels.
brilliant.
Yes.
You say that you were showing off the goods at the museum.
Indeed.
So the parties involved were aware of, to some extent, the details of what was on offer?
Well, they certainly got to see an illustration.
But they weren't aware of the value of that.
Directly, no. And to be honest, when the idea was first mooted, I said it was arrant foolishness. I would have thought that perhaps a safe would have been a more secure location to keep the plans, but Chekhov he's an artist first and foremost, and an inventor second, which, having seen what he's invented, should tell you how terrifyingly good he is as an artist. But he's of that temperament. I think at heart he's a showman.
Second detail. Your fascinating tale earlier.
Yes.
Small, but important element. You have a rendezvous planned to deliver the goods, in return for which your husband will be returned. But at no point in your tale did you receive any communication from those who have them. Perhaps you would care to explain?
Did I not mention? I had a note left for me on the dining room table.
I should
Note.
very much like to see this note.
Unfortunately, it burned away.
How convenient.
Yeah.
Not really, so did my house.
And what did the note say? Obviously, a significant communique as that you will no doubt committed to memory.
The note said that one of the police guarding my room would be available to take a message saying that I had arranged for the shipment to be completed.
Really? That's all just one of?
I shall take
That was-
cast a glance over to the inspector.
He's
With a bit
now
of a
out
smile.
of the room.
Yeah.
Inspector's
Oh,
not in the room.
of course I shut the door on him, didn't I?
Yeah, she told him to leave. I gather one of the constables. I was given a description, but I haven't left the room yet. Doctors do keep
by all
fussing.
means, pass on the description.
A little below your height, Sir Randolph, and I gather with the build of a wrestler. Quite
Did you see
wide.
such a
That was the one who was guarding the room when we got here, wasn't it?
That's the guy who last you
Yes.
saw was directly outside the door.
Well, do we play a game of our own then in order to get this done?
Personally, I'm beginning to think there are too many games being played here at the moment.
I'm for just smacking the copper on the head and being done with it.
That was my thought.
Well, that might not be quite the way I had in mind.
I don't think that quite achieves our goal, so...
Now, the first thing that we need to do, unfortunately, and I do apologise for this matter, is that we will need to upgrade your degree of protection by the police. You are currently under guard for your own good as a result of the things that have happened. emergency. I'm afraid we will need to upgrade that to you being under guard because you have been arrested.
I've done nothing wrong.
Oh, perhaps not. But that doesn't really matter unless it comes to court, does it? Till there is a trial, well, there really isn't an issue.
And what would be the charges under which you would have me arrested, Sir Randolph?
Conspiring
Conspiracy
with...
to commit arson and murder. That sounds good, doesn't it? Your husband is missing.
There's also conspiring with enemies of the crown.
Oh, let's not take things to extremes. I'm sure that
Just throwing that out there, Sir Randolph.
I'm sure that a simple scandal, the revelation that Mrs. Harrison is being investigated in the suspicious disappearance of her husband is quite adequate to secure her cooperation for the moment. We'll be needing the painting as well. It's going to have to be far better looked after than wherever you've left it. Obviously, it still belongs to Mr. Chekhov, and the Crown will completely respect that and negotiate with him in good faith, should he choose to come and undertake those negotiations. But you will no longer have any part in the
You can't do that. A scandal would
You just
ruin
did.
me.
A scandal is brewing, Mrs. Harrison.
I am not losing both my reputation and my husband on the same day.
Then,
Well, then let's
this
get
is
your
within
husband back.
in your hands to do so.
What if I were to arrange it such that the plans could be delivered into the hands of the Crown, as was the intent from the beginning, as a loyal servant of Her Majesty?
Who was intending to play parties against each other in order to secure a better deal for themselves. But that is by the by.
Britain is a nation of shopkeepers. I am merely playing to type.
In your offers, the plans are not yours to deliver.
But
Should you undertake to keep them from us in this matter, we will add theft to the charges. Since they are not yours,
they have
and
been
your
given
offence-
legally into my safekeeping.
by a gentleman who is currently missing, I'm afraid they are considered evidence.
And unless we have affidavits
to
to
the subject of your husband, who I have no intention of leaving to the mercy of whatever foul miscreant is behind all of this, you assured me that the interested persons are not aware of the nature of the plans at this time, unless, of course, you somehow told them since the museum.
They know that I have access to the plans. They don't know the form in which the plans are currently stored.
So, the painting will be placed under the care of the Crown, where it will be safe, and an alternative will be delivered in return for the release of your husband.
That seems extremely dangerous for my husband.
Yes, I know.
It seems extremely dangerous for your husband, regardless, given that the kind of persons that we are dealing with do not share our honor.
Honor.
It is unlikely to me that they will release your husband. However, we can but try.
Indeed, your husband is a very important person. Your husband is a person of many talents, as has been demonstrated. I dare say that they would not wish that a gentleman such as himself were free to carry on.
I may dislike our Scottish cousins, but I cannot believe that the laird would have any part in harming my husband.
He may not have. Mr. Hawke, on the other hand, may be a party unto himself.
There are
Who is this
four
Hawke?
bodies associated with this.
Yes.
He's a hired killer.
Already. A fifth is
What?
not going to bother him in the slightest.
Too many people have died already, Mrs. Harrison.
I had no idea. Aside from the two hirelings at the at the museum, and that's, that was merely unfortunate. I gather that there was I gather that there was some sort of rogue sorcerer throwing magic around, but
Well,
The note, communication from your husband's abductor.
yes,
I assume that it was circumspect in its reference to the goods you were to deliver.
yes, I believe that they realised I was, I would know what they were discussing. Even I can only have one game of this scale on at any given time.
So they neither used the term painting nor plans.
No, artwork, I believe, was used, and design.
I see. But artwork, you say,
Yes.
implying that they do know the hiding place of plans.
I really couldn't say. And
Or
before
that
you
they
shout at
know
me
it's
again,
in-
I really don't know.
A painting, but not necessarily which painting.
It's also that it's created by somebody whose other job is an artist.
Yeah. If they'd used artwork instead of design, then I would have assumed they were simply referring to the plans as an artwork. I'm not so sure with both words being applied, because they sort of, see, to my head, they smack of two separate things. An artwork containing the design. But that might just be because I know that's what it is.
The note truly did burn up when I fled my house. It
I'm sure it
went up very quickly. Flashed away. But it made reference to supplying the artwork so that the design could be approved.
they presumably just thought that the painting
Yeah, well, that's
an illustration so that they could
Yes.
follow it.
That could easily refer simply to the plans as an artwork. They are, after all, a drawing of sorts. I think our next step is quite obvious. If you gentlemen will excuse me. Walks over to the door, opens it, looks outside to see if Jarrett is still there.
Jarrett is not at present in the corridor.
Is the other policeman there?
Yes, the other policeman, who is a short, stocky chap with
Built like
close
a
cropped
wrestler.
hair. Yes.
I wonder if you could do me the favour, Constable, of locating Inspector Jarrett. Would that be worth it?
I'm afraid, sir, I'm not supposed to leave my post, sir. I believe Inspector Jarrett has gone to speak with Dr. Singh.
Yes.
When I walked into the room, obviously it would have been past this constable.
Yeah.
I didn't get any feeling of iron or cold iron on his person, did I? Okay.
No, you got
I
nothing.
didn't feel uncomfortable walking past him.
No, you would have.
Don't know
Given
nothing
how
about
close you
it.
got, if he had any, then
Yeah.
you would have known.
Sure.
Well, should he pass this way, do call out to him and tell him we would like a word.
Yes, sir. Will do, sir.
It's quite a pressing matter.
Sir, I am bound by my duty as a constable of the law to not abandon my post when ordered by a superior.
Good man. Steps back inside and closes the door.
Okay.
Looks like we're waiting on Jarrett.
You know what? I could do with some fresh air. I think I will go and have a look for him myself.
Don't you know you never
You want some
split the
company?
party?
That would be most kind, Master Carter.
Right.
Happy to accompany you.
Okie dokie.
Yay, we're splitting the party again.
Yay, because that doesn't make my
Leaving the
life
two
difficult.
people that she doesn't like in the room.
Yeah, she's having a whirl of a
It's going to
time.
go well.
The
Yeah.
two people who are most likely to keep her honest.
Yeah.
Here,
Well,
probably.
that's that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
Lyricane's main Luricane's main journey was basically to get us past the first bit.
Yeah. I'm actually going to AFK briefly and take a brief comfort break, and
yes,
then
so
I will
will
come
I,
back.
yeah.
If you don't, I will take that opportunity.
Which leaves Neo and I to field any questions from chat, or just to shoot the breeze between us.
There is that option.
It's our chance to burn the channel down.
Yeah.
Oh no, mate. It's got a bit fun.
I just wanted to say stop ball, and it's a very awkward person to talk to.
Yes, very much so. And unfortunately, for less refined characters like yours and mine, very, very difficult to sort of pitch into that conversation with anything useful that doesn't involve beating the crap out of something. So, yeah, my comment of can we just deal with the copper physically was genuinely, let's just beat the shit out of him and get some answers.
Well, my question is now, Jarrett's not there. He's not going to have left us in that room on our own with her.
Jarrett doesn't know that his constable is compromised.
He does not. But he also is that much of a tool, he wouldn't leave us in there on our own. He would be waiting to get back in there.
Depends. Given that we're on the same side, he might well have.
Oh, he's not on our side.
I would like to think, and this
I'm
is
not
me,
saying no, I'm not saying he's part of the plot. He just does not want to be on our side.
no. My concern and my worry is that he's been disappeared,
That's what I'm thinking.
which is why I'm accompanying Luricane to go find him. Because if we do find him and someone is trying to disappear him, I might be needed to intervene.
Or he's in the closet down the hall.
Also possible, yes.
Which means the guard lied about leaving his post.
But then we've got you and Fish's character.
Yeah, I'm looking at that picture and just thinking if there's anything kind of stuff like easily reachable. Because I don't see any IV drips on wheels.
No, but the beds and furniture are old. There may be poles that curtains are hanging from. There may be poles that are. Now let's just move my cards out the way, see what I can see. So yeah,
Hydra.
I'm pretty sure I can see a curtain rail there.
Of all the conversations I expected to come back to, I have to say, a discussion on curtain rails was not one of them. I was going to lop out the AFK section. I'm not now. I've got to watch it back and find out what the hell you guys are talking about.
Wanton destruction.
19th century hospital decor, hospital interior design is all
Excellent.
the rage amongst the certain set these days.
It's what all the cool kids are chatting about, yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Right, now Drut's back. I can comfortably
We
go
were
away
discussing
and,
possibilities.
Okay. You're not actually going to burn her out of her hotel room.
Not yet.
This is, I mean, not just
You did hear
socially.
me correctly.
Sorry.
This party is rather interestingly comprised.
You're the most polite bastards I've ever encountered. Oh, shit. Sorry.
The social strata being
The social strata time team would have trouble with. Just minding their ways down the layers. Okay, so.
While we are waiting, I just want to try and get a lay of the room we're in, because obviously it's not a multi-ward room like that.
No.
But I'm assuming the design is very similar.
Yeah, think of that about half the size, basically.
Like half the size.
It's not a million miles off width-ways. But it's much shallower.
Yeah.
The window is almost identical, but it's only on one wall. The other wall is plain. The other walls are plain and solid.
Okay. So the door is pretty much opposite the window.
Door is opposite the window, yes. And has a
And-
small peephole in it.
And her bed is basically on the
And
wall in
at
between.
that time, although would they? You know, like you get now the IV drips on wheels.
Yep.
Would that have been a thing back then? Or is it too early for
I
that?
think that was too
In some
early.
form.
Now you've got me thinking, however, that
Sorry.
now I need to go. No, it's fine. We're on AFK. We might as well give people a history lesson while we're at it.
Yeah, I believe we are too early for
I
IV
think
That's what I was
Too
drip.
thinking,
early.
because I'm not seeing anything like that in that image.
No, I think we are early for that.
I think it's more the pipes are coming actually from.
We are
Right.
we are obviously too early for that because plastic bags don't exist yet.
Point.
No, but there would have been some form of other liquid. container.
Apparently, 1831.
Oh, I take it back then. Not too
Oh,
early.
That's not when it was actually introduced, but that's when the technology started to be developed.
Okay.
Or IV
Very,
solution
very
in
rare.
bag.
But for a
Intravenous
high
technology
profile
stemmed from studies on cholera treatment in 1831 by Dr. Thomas Latter of Leith.
Okay.
Wikipedia is a wondrous thing.
Hmm.
So by the
Okay.
time we're up to our period, high profile people could well have.
Yeah. Okay, hang on. And Bart's is one of the most prestigious hospitals in London. Always has been.
I guess the question is, she's not suffered any injuries that would require the use of a saline or an IV drip.
No, she hasn't.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean there wouldn't be one in the corner of the room.
No, that's true. A stand would
with
probably
nothing
might
on it.
exist. Yeah.
What year are we in? I can't remember.
Around
a very
1850.
good
We're in
question.
1850. Things in inventions and buildings have slightly shifted back and forward in time.
Yeah, that's what I'm just trying to get a lay, just in case things go the way I
Okay.
think they might.
1930s for full proper use and 1950s for common availability. So you're
The
pretty much
technology
okay.
it was introduced
Yeah.
during a cholera epidemic which had reached Britain the previous year and was killing huge numbers of people.
Sorry, I've just seen one of the most disturbing things I've seen in a long time.
Although
That's
his
an-
results were both remarkably good and effective in saving human lives, the research appeared to thereafter be forgotten for 70 years.
Okay.
So basically,
Of course,
what
there were
we've got-
glass bottles before. They weren't
Oh
bags.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they were the glass
Intravenous-
ones with the drip through.
Intravenous theory definitely exists. Latter and his colleagues have made it work during this 1832 epidemic, but it's not been picked up
Right.
as a technology. Nevertheless, I'm sure that the results were published in the Lancet in 1832. So it's something that's known.
Yeah.
It's not
Okay.
something they will be using as a matter of course, because it doesn't, as we know, it doesn't start to be used for another 70 years. But the technique is known, and it's known
Yeah.
that it can be done. So it's something that, while it won't be a thing here, can be written in if people want to use it in
Yeah.
scenarios in this kind of
Well, I'll be honest, I'm not actually looking for the intravenous strip.
Okay.
I'm actually looking for what it's standing on.
No, unfortunately.
You want to make it cold.
By the
Don't
way,
necessarily metal. Could be
yeah,
wooden.
A pole.
Which then, if it's not a thing, what about a hat stand in the room?
there is no hat stand in the room. Not even in this room is there a hat stand.
Not even an elephant.
No. By the way, the flinch I gave
And
was
by the
not,
way,
as Robinson may have suggested, a mirror. And the next time I run anything with him in
Is that what you were suggesting?
Fear Me, no, it was merely a young girl was scared of the IV drip, so she designed a teddy bear to house the drip bag.
That sounds disturbing.
Along the lines of, you know, the pyjama cases that you fill with your jammies to cuddly toys. This is a teddy bear that then deflates as the drip empties. So there's basically a
Wow.
skinned teddy bear hanging off a rack, because that's going to be less disturbing for children.
Yeah. I can see that one turning up in the
I'm
next scene.
googling this thing now. I want to see this thing.
That's
Oh my
horrible.
word.
Okay.
Just out of interest, Brad, we are in between the First and Second Opium Wars at the moment.
Oh,
So
right,
that's
okay.
probably been about
Fair enough. Unfortunately, my knowledge of history is tragic. Further
That's
back,
why I
I'm
have all the
okay.
video to be able to look
Yeah.
up.
Further back, I'm okay. Further ahead, I'm okay. The
Yeah.
Victorian era itself gets a little bit
It's
wafty.
an area I know very little about. I have to see if I can find a good book on it.
I know events in broad strokes during this time, but
Yeah.
it's not my.
Yes. I'm sort of as far as Sherlock Holmes goes, basically, I am very much historical fiction for the Victorian era, but yes, further back or forward, I'm better at. But yes, I blame my history teacher. Your first thought was spider. No, yeah, spider wouldn't have done it. But no, mirror. Really? Child. Okay.
I'm
When in
rather
doubt.
annoyed at this woman for telling the police that her husband abducted. That was a foolish move. Makes my life more.
Yeah? How so?
Well, I think she was hoping that they would go off on a wild goose chase while she actually tried to engineer an actual solution.
Yeah, basically. She's very used to telling mostly men exactly what they want to hear, what they expect to hear, and what she wants them to know.
And
I
therefore
don't
what she
think-
wants them to do.
Exactly. I don't think this is exactly going to be a shock to the system for you, or a huge spoiler as to her character. No, so I see. Robinson's doing the 100-meter backpedal in chat. Oh right, okay, fair enough.
I still don't think it exonerates him at all.
That reminds me, while we're in between,
Okay,
we're still technically on an AFK, it's an excellent time to bring this up.
okay, go for it.
So first thing, I have been reminded that I wanted to recommend to our viewers Garblag Games, who I have been watching them playing Warhammer 4th edition, because I wanted to see how that differs. That's the current edition, how that differs from the first edition that Knights Wing, of course. And they have a good channel. They're a YouTube channel rather than a Twitch channel, and I'm enjoying watching their shows. And I've joined their Discord, and they seem like decent people, so I wanted to give them a bit of a shout out. Say, if you're looking for something else to watch in between ours, check out Garblag. I'll bung a link when I can find one, when I can remember to find one. But what reminded me is that apparently, for those of you who are interested, they are going to be giving away both Spire and Strata. I don't know whether Strata is a source book for Spire, but they're doing this in...
It's a supplement to...
It's a supplement, right? Okay, yeah, they're doing a Spire one-shot, apparently, next weekend, and they are giving away those two books as a part of that, so worth checking them out. I can give you the link for that, because that's what I've just had pop up, and...
I think we just scared off Chrono.
So there you go, let's just throw that...
I think Chrono's just gone to subscribe to the channel and try and get a free copy.
That should hopefully, let me just check.
For anyone who wants to know what
link
thank you. Fair enough. Yes. Okay.
You were a fan. I wasn't sure whether you would have the books handy.
Yeah.
Yes, I kickstarted them both, and
that is what they are giving away. And I've just thrown the link to the video, presumably explaining how the giveaway is going to work, into our chat. So.
And while we're
the other thing I
things,
will mention while I'm here, in case people aren't on our Discord and haven't seen it, is that Humble Bundle currently have a bundle of Warhammer 40,000 Dark Heresy RPG books, which amounts to pretty much all of first and second edition Dark Heresy, working in at about £15 for the lot. So if you're interested in Warhammer 40,000 and role-playing, that seems like a good place to go. It's not the current version. The current version is Wrath and Glory, published by Cubicle 7. But I think that's why Cubicle 7 are giving away the movie as well. In the same way that they did a bundle of first edition of Warhammer to promote 4th edition. To promote Wrath and Glory, they're doing this bundle of the Dark Heresy stuff. So well worth a look.
Yeah. By the way, Fish and Indeed Night, I'm thinking that on sessions where we have Chrono in game, it's polite if we stick in the notice rotation plug for RQG.
Oh yeah, we need, as I said before, we need to have a bit of a planning meeting, the three of us, at some point as to where we're going with the channel. And one of the things that we need to do is to determine what we're doing with the bot and actually build it into a proper hint plays tabletop bot, rather than just a lobotomized version of my personal stream bot, which is what it actually is.
Yeah.
I just ripped out everything I could find that was specific to me and copied it across.
Given that Lazarus is Lazarus and Techie is Techie and Icarus is Icarus, I think we need viewers to think of names for Hint Plays bot.
That would be good.
Yeah, so if anybody thinks of a name, chuck us a message in chat or chuck us a DM if we're not on stream at the time, and do let us know. And it can't
If
be
anybody
rude.
can think of a good way of getting us out of this awkward situation that she's put us in by actually telling the police that her husband's been abducted, that would be really good.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
somehow we have to make the kidnappers think she's going along with them, despite us being here. And that, I haven't quite figured out how we're going to do that yet.
I'm terribly sorry. I do apologise for creating competent villains. And
It's not the competent villains, it's the incompetent villainesses that are causing us trouble.
she's not a villainess.
No,
She's an anti-hero, technically.
yeah,
She's definitely south of Foyle.
Yes.
she's a self-interested third party. Yeah,
Exactly. She's a power broker, basically.
yeah.
She is a power and information broker.
She's
But who also obviously likes playing these kind of dangerous games.
yes.
Yeah. Definition of villainess is very different to mine. Yeah, yours probably involves more bikinis. So, occasional spikes. Right, so, back in the room, what is the plan, guys? She has an arrangement to alert the kidnappers to delivery of the merchandise.
Yeah, I don't think that arrangement's going to stand.
Okay.
I mean, the obvious way is we leave. She attempts to arrange it. We follow the constable when he leaves.
You reckon tail the dodgy guy to...
Yeah,
But
because
have you two not just left?
no, but this is like out of character to
All right.
try and like spur on what we're going to do.
Yeah, you feel free, because
Yeah.
yeah, I have no problem with you retiring to the corner of the room for a sotto voce conversation while she gets sulky.
As I see it, the problem that we've got is that they have had her under observation from the moment police picked her up and brought her in. And that observation includes the knowledge that we have come here and interviewed her.
Indeed.
Now, unfortunately, she is not currently free to act because the police are investigating the abduction of her husband.
Well, to be fair, they were going to be either investigating the abduction of her husband or the murder of her husband, given the fire.
Not necessarily. She would have had a certain amount of time before they even knew whether or not he was in the house. I mean, we've already established they don't know whether the servants are even missing.
So she didn't
Let
have to
alone
tell
whether
them.
they're dead. So the same situation could have been applied to her husband, and it would have given her time to make the necessary arrangements. As it is, she shot herself in the foot somewhat by telling them he's been abducted. Because
Yeah,
now
she's
they're
also shot
looking
us in the
for a
Yeah.
kidnapper. And that's going to make the kidnappers a touch on the concerned side. They may act prematurely.
That
because they think that
depends.
she's actually dobbed them in and isn't going along with it.
But whatever the case is, then she would have to, however she contacted like the policeman outside of her room, he has to have some way of getting in touch with his bosses,
Yeah.
and given the lack of mobile phones, etc., the only real secure way is to actually go and meet them.
Yeah, I mean,
So
our
he-
two options are either he gets tailed and leads us, for want of a better term, to whoever has turned him, basically. Or he gets picked up
Bold.
and Jarrett tries to beat it out of him.
Yeah, that's going to go well. Tell you that for nothing.
Or
Yeah.
we could beat it out of him.
He is a serving constable in the Metropolitan Police Force. I don't
Are we
think...
sure of that?
Do we know that?
picking him
Yeah.
up and- yeah,
Are we
well,
sure of that?
if not, Jarrett needs to be fired.
Well, we already know that.
Jarrett's not incompetent. He just doesn't like you.
No, but it's also not beyond Ken that he had somebody station a constable here, and he's not actually looking too much. Like, he may not know every single person in the Met who is under his.
Yeah,
He's not likely to know anybody by face or name.
I will tell you that.
It's
Yeah,
a much smaller organisation.
it is. It
True,
is.
but a couple of hundred people still is.
The thing is, once you put
But
people in
somebody
uniform,
who's not the only copper here. Somebody is going to know if there's someone wandering around. So, yeah, somebody else from the same precinct.
Yes, there is
Not
that.
the word I was looking for, but my brain won't supply me with the right one.
Station.
He's going to say, "Who's he?" That's not Bob.
Yeah, huh? So you reckon that this is a constable who's going around saying, "Yeah, I trained in Canada. You don't know it."
Yeah, see, I don't. I think he's got to be a real copper. I don't think that the situation works.
I mean, that's fair.
Jarrett's not outside. How do we know that Jarrett is not in on it?
Okay, you're jumping down your own rabbit hole. I love it when players do this.
This is why I volunteered to accompany Lyricane,
Yeah.
because I thought, if he's not outside and we need to go find him, what if Hawk found him first?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right, so that's a little bit of OOC planning I have
Yeah.
allowed you because it is a bit of a what the effery. So, what is your actual plan? Are some of you going to look for Jarrett?
Well, at
Yeah.
the moment, we've just split the party, haven't we?
Yes,
So-
we have.
Yes.
Lyricane and Carter are going to go and look for Jarrett Stroke Singh,
Okay.
and
Misheard
hope that
that
we
as
find them
Jarrett.
together.
Misheard that as Jarrett stroking thing, and suddenly that's a whole different,
Oh,
whole different ball game there.
all of a sudden we're into slash fiction.
Yep. Hey, if somebody wants to do fan art for any of the NPCs, I am well happy with that idea.
Do you really want it to be given the conversation that led from?
It is an interesting question, isn't it? Which is the bigger thing there? Is it really, really chuffed because someone's doing fanfic of our game, or is it, oh my god, it's slash fiction? I'm not sure.
Yeah, can I have advance notice of that question, please?
Let's just give thanks that it's not happening, and we don't need to work
Yeah,
out whether
I
we
think
are
I think
more
I'd be
happy or
fine.
disturbed.
I think I'd be fine with it existing, so long as I didn't have to read it.
As RQ community manager,
Gorgeous.
I will have to say no comment at this.
Yeah,
Well, we don't have to deal with that issue.
yeah, we don't, and
We're not
I
big enough to need to worry about that yet.
no. That would be so cool though, the fan art bit, not anything else. But what the hell, you shouldn't do that. I desperately want somebody to do
We've
fan
had
art of
fan art
Adelaide.
before.
Yes,
We
true.
have had fan art, yes.
He's given us fan art.
Yes, I would desperately love for somebody to do fan art of Adelaide because she's just so much fun. And it would be nice to put a face to the voice, if you see what I mean. So, right. Okay, so moving on. Carter and Lyricane. heading out into the corridor. Which way are you going? Because you've got the staircase to your right as you head out, and you've got the long corridor and staircase down to your left, and somebody's on open mic. Because I'm getting echo
Yeah,
back.
I'm getting a little bit of feedback as well. Or echo, rather.
Yeah. Somebody got the app open and it started playing sound quietly. Just out of curiosity.
I can't hear anything.
Yeah, it was weird. I was just checking that my system's all set up for just headset. Okay, never
Coming
mind.
from me.
Oh.
No, I can't hear. Actually, I can't hear it now.
No, now it's shut up. Okay, this
That's
is
strange.
This is always
I
fun.
shall ask the copper. Which way do you go?
The inspector, sir.
Yep.
The inspector, he went with Dr. Singh down to his office, sir.
Which way was that?
Down there, sir.
Thank you very much. Was he lying?
You going to make a perception check and check?
Absolutely.
Go
I'm going to
for
try. The score's going to be approximately. Let's see. Oh god, I have this perception.
Diamonds.
Yeah, I know it's done. I'm trying to remember what my rank is.
Ah, a
Yes,
6,
it is.
isn't it?
Okay, so 7, 8.
As far as you can tell, no, he's not lying. He is simply giving you directions.
Cool. I shall go.
Okay.
You're okay?
Not. And gesture.
Right. So you can head down the along the corridor, past the wards, either side of you. There are nurses heading backward and forth, and a couple of earnest-looking young men in suits, white coats, and clipboards.
If we pass any
yeah.
within, sort of, without going out of our way. Excuse me. Which way to Dr. Singh's office, please?
There's, talking to a youngish nurse. Downstairs, sir.
And the stairs are... Sorry, I don't come here often.
Oh,
The stairs
right.
are-
Yes, just at the end of this corridor, sir. Yes, down the stairs. And it's, if you turn back on yourself, I believe it's on the left-hand side. I couldn't tell you how many doors, though.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
No difficulty, sir. She's looking between the two of you with this. The hell?
Yeah, I suppose we kind of look like an odd pairing.
Yeah. And then a child in the ward behind her starts throwing up and she dashes off.
I'm sorry.
Oh, don't be, sir. All in the day's work. So, you can indeed head back down the corridor. It's the stairs you came up, basically, you're looking for. So, all the way down there and back along the corridor with the offices on, past Captain Phrenology Fumbler.
Which is now a name that will be forever.
It was an ace away from being the Phrenology Fondler, but I figured that was going to be even worse. I'd really not help the situation. So, there is indeed a door labelled a Dr. Singh. A Dr. E. Singh, in fact.
I knock.
The slightly irritated voice of Dr. Singh. Yes, come in.
Open and poke my head in.
Oh, it's you. He's in there with Jarrett.
Inspector, might we trouble you a moment, please?
Frequently. What do you need?
I wink. I believe it is appropriate for us to return to Mrs. Harrison's room.
Ah, you're done with the private stuff then? You're not planning on kicking me out again as a representative of Her Majesty's government?
I hold up my hands. That was not my request.
No.
Any
It was him
words
that
you
did
wish to
it.
have on that matter should be taken up with Mrs. Harrison.
Yes. Well,
And no
she's
doubt there are very many words that you wish to have with Mrs. Harrison.
one or two. I believe she knows more about her husband's disappearance than she's letting on. But if you amateurs have now finished with her, then perhaps the professionals can have a crack.
Oh, be my guest.
Yeah, sorry.
And stand aside for like I let him lead the way.
Okay. He will grab his coat off the back of the chair and sling it back on as he stomps off back up the way you came. Meanwhile,
Apologies for the intrusion, Dr. Sim.
Liberty Hall. So, back in the room, you've got a couple of minutes with Mrs. Harrison without anybody else around. Are you doing
Tell
anything?
me, Mrs. Harrison, how were you planning to make these arrangements?
I was going to arrange for a messenger to engage a courier. The same one we arranged to bring the shipment into the museum. We're simply going to take it out again. And we were going to engage them to transport the appropriate crate to the station. Freight goes in and out all the time there.
So it's still at the museum.
She looks a little bit annoyed at having given that to you without making you work for it. At the end of the exhibition, everything was shipped down into the cellars. It seemed imprudent to try and store them privately.
That's perfect, yes.
I'm glad the arrangements fall within your approval. Obviously, I appreciate your input on this subject.
We're going to need to put a bit of a delay on this. How quickly would you expect, you say you've dealt with them before, how quickly would you expect these couriers to be able to fulfill your request?
Well, within 2 hours, perhaps?
2 hours? You must give me their name.
Well, you see, I have them on retainer. This is not the first time I've had to arrange for the shipment of valuable one-off pieces to various
Yes.
purchasers.
I'm sure you are quite the figure in the world of art.
This is actually my first foray into art.
First forays into art and treason. Interesting.
It is not treason.
It's import-export.
It is indeed, and besides, if we'd left him there in Prussia, the Prussians would have had this free and gratis. So frankly, as far as I can tell, I've done the Crown a favour.
Your husband has most certainly done the Crown a favour.
I love George dearly. But to be honest, from what little you know of the man, do you honestly think he has the organisational skills to isolate and retrieve a valuable figure from an isolated Prussian castle?
Well, neither of you have the organisational skills to hold on to him in London. So I suppose not.
In many ways, you might say it's down to the opposition. If we had realised that the Scottish were going to be playing hardball, we would have done things a little differently.
But what you wouldn't have done is put the best interests of your country first.
The
That's
country was always going to get the plans.
The country may not get the plans thanks to you.
Well, that's hardly my fault.
You've put the entire operation at risk. You've left these valuable plans in an unsecure location. You've frightened off Chekhov.
I don't think I frightened off Chekhov. I think you'll find that Chekhov was clearly abducted.
Who by?
Well, I would assume the same gentleman who kidnapped my husband.
And where did Mr. Chekhov obtain his wondrous ability to resist torture? Since he has apparently not told them the location of the plans.
Well, he's
We
Prussian.
spoke to the Graf.
Did you?
His interest was in returning Chekhov to Prussia.
Well, yes.
If they had Chekhov, he'd have been out of the country by now, and they wouldn't be mucking about trying to get the plans. Till they got him back to Prussia and questioned him, they probably wouldn't even know the plans existed. Or they wouldn't have if it wasn't for the fact that you told them. Personally.
I thought we had agreed that the Prussians were not the ones who had stolen my husband.
We didn't agree anything.
You're not. Oh, yeah, you are there, actually, yeah.
It's Lyricaine and me then, aren't they?
Yeah.
Bishop is absolutely correct on that. Certain assumptions have been made by yourself
Yes.
and by the Margot. I prefer not to make assumptions if it will be helpful.
This is all
Evidence
good.
is good that Mr. Hawke has been working with Lockshield. But other than the modus operandi of the operation, there is no evidence that he has your husband.
Well, if he doesn't, then who does?
Well, there is always the Prussians.
But I think I really don't think they would be so. The Graf would be so ungentlemanly as to engage in kidnapping when he could simply purchase what he was after. Well, as far as he knew, anyway.
Would you like to know how I got personally involved in this affair?
Oh, do tell. I'm sure it's a thrilling story of daring do.
Yes, the Graf attempted to hire my brother, the black sheep of the family, to kidnap Chekhov and return him to Prussia. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a mix-up, and the communication came to me instead. So, on the subject of whether the Graf would arrange a kidnapping for something, under a circumstance where he could simply buy the plans, I'm afraid I find his intentions a little more suspect than you do.
Well, really? He was going to out me from the deal? That's just rude.
So, I don't like to impugn your organisational skills and your abilities as a middle person, an arranger of these matters, but it would seem that both of the other parties that you contacted, those that are not the British Crown, have attempted to use kidnapping and or murder to obtain the goods without paying you anything. Next time, just give it to the Crown.
How are you supposed to conduct honest dealings if people are intent on double-crossing you at every turn? It's simply not on. Not
The
on
same
at
way
all.
you were playing everyone off against each other.
I was not playing anybody off against anyone
You
else.
weren't using one to try and hike the price for the other.
That was mere advertising.
That's exactly what I was on about, playing each other off.
Yes,
There is no
It's
sugarcoating that one, I'm afraid.
gentleman is correct.
It's simply business, and I wouldn't expect the likes of you to understand it.
I start to understand it a little bit better than you think.
Well, you have got me there. I've never had to dabble in business.
Oh,
Ooh, making friends left, right, and centre there. Oh, dearie lordy dicks.
Quigley pulls out a £50 note and wipes his nose with it.
Yeah, very much so. Nicely done, sir. Yes. Oh, dear, oh Lord. I'm enjoying this immensely. Okay. So, yeah, it's been roughly long enough. You guys can be returning with Jarrett.
Oh, Inspector. This being said, while they're coming through the door, so the door is still open.
Ah, okay.
We appear to be running into something of a brick wall here. Do shut the door.
Brick wall. Your famous charm not getting the job done.
Is the door shut? Well, we have a couple of things we'd like your help with, actually, Inspector.
Really?
First, and although it's the first thing, it may have to come second, is that we'd really very much like you to arrest the fellow standing outside the door, since he's in the pay of the gentlemen who have abducted Mr. Harris. Second thing is that Mrs. Harrison has agreed to cooperate fully with us now, and with yourself as the detective in charge of this operation, and we would like to discuss with you how things should proceed from this point.
Absolutely, I have
Mrs.
no reason
Harris-
not to cooperate.
You see, Mrs. Harrison received a communication from the gentleman who took her husband, informing her of exactly how she can get him back, and informing her that the communication to inform them that her part of the bargain has been organised, it should be delivered through the constable standing outside this door at the moment. She was given a quite flattering description of it.
Right. Is that so?
So, I wondered, you being the expert on these matters,
Right.
which you believe would be the better way to continue? To have somebody follow the man when he delivers the message, thus leading you to his employers, who hopefully would be wherever Mr. Harrison is, enabling you to perhaps raid with a number of stout bobbies and retrieve the unfortunate gentleman. Or whether you feel it would be better to arrest the constable and obtain the information as to where he was to deliver the message directly from him.
Well, were it left to my devices, I'd have the chap in cells being thoroughly interrogated for however many days it took to give up the information, but it strikes me as this is perhaps a more time-sensitive situation.
Yes, that measure of days doesn't sit well, does it?
No. Especially if he is... He looks really quite pissed off at this idea. If he is of this Mr. Hawke's organisation.
Well, it seems likely that Mr. Hawke is responsible for this abduction, but we don't have any direct evidence to count out.
That's true. There could be any number of mad kidnappers running around London.
It could have been Graf Friedrich.
Oh, good, good. Bringing in the foreigners. No offence. Looking straight
Well,
at Luricane.
we are aware
None
that the
taken.
Russians, we are
None
aware that the
taken.
Russians had a plan to kidnap Chekhov, which appears to have been foiled by Chekhov's disappearance. Whether he was kidnapped by somebody else, or as I personally believe, hid himself to avoid the attentions of both the Prussians and the Steam Lords, and possibly Mrs. Harrison. Not 100% clear, but I do believe that he is in hiding at the moment. Under which circumstance, I think it is also important that his property be properly protected and insured for his return. That being the case, the items that were on exhibit at the museum are in storage at said museum. I believe it would be good if you were to send a message to Lord Fullenham and inform him that it is my recommendation, my strongest recommendation, that those items be moved to a more secure location under the authority of the Crown.
Right. He looks distinctly weary all of a sudden.
I understand this. We understand that this is a lot to take on, Inspector.
We also might need, and I wonder whether perhaps you can help us with that as well, since you have in your custody at the moment 2 gentlemen quite capable of producing such an item, a set of fake plans.
Fake plans.
Yeah, well, they don't have to be fake plans. They can be real plans, just not the plans for the thing that these people actually want, or at least not one that will work.
Right.
You see, the agreement that Mrs. Harrison was offered is this, that she hands the plans over via this complicated arrangement that I'll let her explain, and they release her husband. I don't particularly have much faith that they will release her husband, not if it's Hawk. If it's the Prussians, they may well. But my thinking is that if we do the follow the constable method,
Yes.
we might be as well to back that up with an actual delivery of some plans. They're not the plans that they're looking for.
Mm.
And since the dwarfs that you have in your protective custody at the moment were involved in the creation of the real plans, and since the persons involved do not appear to know the exact nature of the plans for which they are seeking, I felt they might be able to come up with something that would serve under the circumstances.
Well, that seems like something approaching a reasonable
That's how
plan
I would
of
do it. But
action.
obviously, you're in charge.
It's not a happy camper. I fully expect you to write this up in your journal as offended this person,
Everyone.
this person.
It just offended everyone. We'll cover it, I think.
What I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to make a list of the NPCs in this scenario that I didn't offend. It's going to be much easier.
I think there's about 2 of
Tommy,
those.
Sheila.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
While they are having this conversation, I go and sit back down next to Adelaide.
Yeah.
And just quietly lean it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Just as a matter of curiosity, Adelaide, do you happen to know the route that your husband took to spirit Mr. Chekhov out of Prussia?
Well, with access to the right maps, I could probably determine it.
Countries will be sufficient.
Well, he got him out initially via, well, I gather horses were involved. She glances up at you and says, fine. He joined a mail carriage, masquerading as a parcel.
Your husband masqueraded as a parcel.
No.
Got Chekhov out, right? Just making sure that I haven't got the wrong end.
No. Chekhov had himself mailed. Crated himself up. Labelled as fragile. And George had him delivered to the border.
The border where?
Right, please. She says, going back to the map because she wants to make absolutely damn certain that she doesn't cock this up any more than her basic knowledge of geography is going to give her. That's the wrong map. That's The Witcher. You get really freaking confused there.
Yes.
Well, you headed to the Northern Kingdoms and hang on a minute.
Well, first off, they headed to Skellige so that they could throw them off the mark.
Yes, let me just open New Europa, and so I can make absolutely damn certain. Come on. Thank you. Any chance you could actually load? Thank you. Right, okay. So, spot the woman who has really, truly abysmal geographical knowledge.
Oh no, like I've thrown you a curveball here.
No, it's fine. It's just I need to make sure it has gone where I was about to tell you it's gone. Yeah. So yes, he would indeed have gone south. Yeah, he did go through Bayern. Yes, he went through Vienna.
He went through
And
Vienna. Okay.
he went through Vienna and then Munich,
Sure.
where he took ship
Um,
in just at the coast from near Munich, and then sailed straight through to London.
was he carrying the plans with him?
No, I believe his little pets. Sorry, they are ever so sweet though. The brothers.
Lovely gentlemen.
Yes. I always think of them as young. They always seem so young to me. But yes, the little boys, I believe they had already absconded with the plans themselves, but all they could do is reproduce them.
Oh, okay, so they were the ones with. Did they tell us what route they took?
They didn't.
Didn't,
They
damn it.
came out on their own account.
No, that's true. I was
Um,
hoping they were the Chekhov. I've got to.
no.
Because they did tell us that they were the ones who did
Yeah.
the thing.
And
right.
they only had partial blueprints. I gather the functional conclusion to bring everything together needed to be done by Chekhov himself.
Which he did when he was here.
Yes, and directed them to create the full blueprint.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. That's most helpful.
No.
So ideally, they might be able to provide us with a copy of their part of the blueprint, the bit that doesn't work because it doesn't have Chekhov's.
Yeah.
No, I mean, unless, yeah, I guess, because they probably still have those bits that they then copied, unless they took their bits, gave them to Chekhov, and he basically sewed them together to.
You
to
do
create the
know.
same thing.
You do know that there were various different blueprints and such on the tables at the Docklands warehouse,
Yeah.
but nobody really looked in detail at them.
I mean, all we really need is just some blueprints. They don't even have
Yeah.
to be really gun. But if they look vaguely gun-like, that would
Yeah.
help.
And also, we wouldn't have known what we were looking at that
No.
point.
No. Right. So, the plan is to tail the constable on the grounds that that's going to be quicker than beating it out of him.
Yeah.
I think we can
I'd
definitely
rather
say.
like to beat it out of him. It probably wouldn't be the best way.
I think you take it a century or so down the line. I think you could definitely see Jarrett with a rolled up phone book, doing the full.
If the location that he leads us to is somewhere that it seems they are holding Harrison, then we won't necessarily need to do the plan part of the plan. But if not, we still need to find Harrison.
Yep.
And there's always the chance that they will actually release him. So,
Indeedy.
some plans is definitely a fallback that we're going to need to have ready.
Right.
How far are we from the hotel that the dwarves are being kept in?
Let me check. It's probably about 20 minutes by
Sure. Okay.
taxi. She says guesstimating based on
Yeah,
walking
I mean,
distances.
that's fine. So, Sir Randolph, whether us,
That's a very good question. Partly depends on what the inspector has in mind. After all, I would like to think that he will accept our assistance in what needs to be done from here on in.
I've had it
But
made
we've gotten
very
on
close.
disposed quite a lot already.
It's been made very clear to me that you have your uses. And you ever seen anybody having teeth pulled out?
Funnily enough.
Yeah. That's where we are with that. He's not happy about it, quite clearly.
Of course, we are at your disposal.
Well, I will send agents then.
I
Younger.
would suggest that Carter seems a dab hand at following constables.
Makes it sound. What's he get up to on Saturday nights?
Not to mention
I'd be
being
happy
able
to.
to recognise Mr. Hawke should he be in attendance.
Yes. Okay. So you're going to arrange for. I will send the message then, says Adelaide. And I can make the courier arrangements if need be. Or would you prefer not?
Well, at the moment, there's no plan to be couried. It will need. I'm assuming that they are at least aware enough that it will catch them seem rather suspicious to them if the plans are not couriered from the museum. They would no doubt expect them to be concealed within Chekhov's goods there.
Indeed.
If they know they're not at your house, or they wouldn't have set fire to it.
I guess if they're also expecting the painting as a illustrative guide to its final form, then they would be
That
keeping
might
an
be a problem because they're not getting it.
no.
Top of the box. You know how it is. It's like putting the jigsaw together.
Yeah.
So it's
So,
also the matter that you have requested the good inspector to move said items from the museum.
Yes. So what we're going to need to do is it should be entirely possible to arrange this all in one go.
okay.
So we get hold of some substitute plans. Those go along with, say, the inspector to the museum to oversee the movement of Chekhov's items as part of an ongoing investigation. During which certain items, namely the plans, which we will have to perhaps conceal within something,
Yeah.
are instead handed over to the courier on the basis that while the rest of the exhibition belongs to Chekhov, these items were handed as a gift to the Harrisons and are thus to be returned to Mrs. Harrison. Thus, the Crown authorities, while removing everything else to a warehouse for safekeeping, hand over those items to the courier to be returned to the Harrisons, who will, of course, deliver them to our villains.
Right.
That allows us to keep an eye on what's going on and make all of the switches as necessary, and to have somebody trustworthy there, whether Jared or one of us or both, to make sure that the right thing goes with the courier.
God, you're so paranoid. Okay. So, that's your plan. And
That's the plan, anyway.
as Adelaide said, the courier's destination was always going to be King's Cross. So, you need the dodgy constable to notify people that the exchange is going to happen.
And I'll be tailing the dodgy constable to his rendezvous so that we can identify where said notable people are.
Or worst case, who he's
God don't let me
talking to.
face Hawk single-handed. He will wipe the floor with me, I suspect.
He'll wipe the floor with us if we're all together. I wouldn't worry about that.
No. Actually, quite possibly.
Our best way of facing Hawk is from about
Half a mile away with a sniper rifle.
1,200 yards away with a cannon.
You just want to build what Chekhov was designed, don't you?
Yeah, that's what. That's it. We're actually gonna take Hawk out. He will be in London, and we are going to fire from Manchester.
Right.
In need of substitute plans, then I suggest one of us, and I volunteer for this, to go and speak to the brothers.
Right.
If necessary, then if they need any equipment or such, then I can head to their warehouse and pick those up.
I imagine they should be willing to cooperate, since the goal of this is to ensure that the plans they don't want to see in anybody's hands are not handed over to whoever has Mr. Harrison.
Indeed.
Okay. And some of this we can do between sessions, because there's going to be a certain degree of just basically character admin, which doesn't necessarily need to be witnessed. Lyrica can indeed ask the brothers at their hotel room to do this, and that won't be a problem. Right. In which case, I am going to call it there. You've got a plan of campaign.
We have.
So we can, basically overnight, the brothers can produce duplicate plans, which means that this plan of yours can then kick off in the morning.
The next day. Excellent.
We just need to know who's going where.
Yeah. And yeah, you can decide that in the OOC channel. And yes, then so poor old Adelaide gets a sleepless night worrying about her hubby.
Oh, bless her.
Oh, but she's an innocent in all this.
At the start of the session, we may have been more concerned about that.
Yeah, and now we've seen just how duplicitous she's been.
Yep. Oh, she would get dizzy if she tried to walk in a straight line.
I have enough trouble with that most of the time anyway.
Yeah, fair play. Yeah, but you're not a supervillain. Maybe you should consider it as an alternate career.
It crossed my mind.
Okay.
I recommend you train up by playing Evil Genius, I believe it's called.
Point. So, yeah, we will call it there, and then next session, I will tell you now, unless you manage something really left at the traffic lights, is going to be our thrilling conclusion.
Woohoo!
Ooh.
Although we do left at the lights fairly effectively.
Yeah.
We are quite good.
You've just spent an entire session in a hospital room.
Yeah.
No, technically, we spent an entire session split between a carriage, 2 hospital rooms, and some corridors.
All action all the time. Right.
Absolutely. Yep.
So yes, we will call it a day there, and thank you very, very much for some excellent in-character stuff. Very much enjoying this.
Other streams have entire sessions where there's nothing but the rolling dice and hitting things. We have entire sessions where the dice never get touched.
Yeah.
Perception checks, that was it.
Yeah.
That was just because we wanted to cycle through to the good card, so when the good shit happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a bit disappointed I never got a chance to use the Joker I've had in my hand all session.
So we had both the Joker.
Yeah, we did.
I've got the Ace and King of Clubs. I was waiting to use those. I was just cycling through everything else to get something good for a fight.
King of Hearts, Ace of Spades. Never got the
Yeah.
bloody chance.
Jack and Queen of Clubs.
Oh, good lord. Right. Okay then. So we will leave that there, and next session will be the tailing of the shrew. Sorry, the tailing of the courier, and however the exchange plays out. Retrieving Mr. Harrison, and maybe, if you're very, very lucky, finding out what happened to Chekhov. So, thank you very much indeed. This will be going up on YouTube as soon as I can export it, and we will work towards getting the audios up when I've been through the rest of the backlog. Which is the size of New Mexico.
You have my sympathies.
Yeah. We do long sessions. Help. So, next week is, I believe, Scion.
Indeed it is. I will be taking the reins and running some of these fine folk through my hack of the Scion system,
Cool, cool.
where they play Children of the Gods in 1971 UK.
I demand flares. I demand flares and possibly some form of moped.
How you choose to dress and get about is up to you.
Yeah. Yes. I remember the 70s. I don't remember 1971, admittedly. Not quite that.
1971 is too early for Children of the Gods. That was a season 2 Blake 7 episode.
Hey.
The end of the
God. Yes, maybe that's what we should dress as members of the cast of Blake 7.
Members
Lots
of
of
the
tunics.
cast or characters of Blake 7?
I've seen in character stuff, out of character stuff. Sorry, I think I know where I'm talking here. Right.
Where you wish to shop and what you wish to requisition is up to you.
Well, I don't get the impression that Paul Darrow's costume wasn't too different from his regular attire.
No, he was sort of jumper and shirt and trousers. He was just normal. It's just as soon as any costume designer took one look at him, they just went leather.
He actually didn't wear a lot of leather.
He wore more than anybody else, and some of it was bought from,
Well,
how
yeah,
can we put this, very specialist shops.
Yeah, later series they went for the leather.
Yes.
They didn't have the budget for leather early series.
No, true. No.
They put him in black almost the entire time.
And stuck a tape deck to his chest for one of them.
He was, or would have been, the perfect man for Patricia Bank-Morgul. If he
Yes.
looked right,
Yeah.
he had the voice, he just would have been perfect.
Sad loss. Okay,
Indeed.
so yeah, I will see you guys next week, and I hope to
Indeed, I'm
see
looking forward to it.
some of the viewers next week, and we can cause endless trouble for Chrono, because I've been storing this up for every time Lyricane gives me grief.
And I think it will be the first time that Knight, Drattercup, and I have played in the same game with none of us running since about 20 years ago.
Well then,
that's
I'm
about
very
right.
honoured to
Because
give
it's
you the
gotta go
chance to
back
do
to-
so.
It's got to go back to either Dave or David running
Yeah.
for
Oh
us
my
when we
God.
first got you two into that gaming group.
Oh,
Yeah.
good lord,
So-
yes. Yikes.
It's been a good while.
Okay, so that's it, and thank you for watching, and good night.
Cheers, everyone.
Good
night.
night.